Hey, 2 words for today. 2 words only, the only 2 words you need. Go big. Whether you had a bad start at this tournament or at the first stop of the year, you got to go big today, and you can do it. You absolutely can do it. If you need to put some distance between you and the rest of the crowd, got that trophy on your mind, you can do it today. Go big, because we're at the Big O, Lake Okeechobee.
Oh, stay on there! Giant.
Yeah! Not the biggest feet in the flow. Yeah! Yeah, boys.
Get in the boat, big cat.
It's the Bassmaster Elite at Lake Okeechobee, brought to you live by Hook.
This is Lake Okeechobee. Anything's possible.
Yeah, keep those 2 words in your mind, or 3 words in your mind, however many you need. Anything is possible. Ish Monroe said it. That's how we'll start this 2017, by looking back at the last time the Bassmaster Elite Series was here on Lake Okeechobee, and it was Ish Monroe in a big, big way, especially on the final day. Davey Height, I think you have some memories of that tournament, don't you?
Unfortunately, Ish is exactly right. Anything is possible. I had a really good bag that first day. Not quite as good as Ish, but I was in second place. Went right back to the same area, did basically the same thing, had twice as many bites and half the weight. Anything is possible on Lake Okeechobee.
Certainly was for Ish Monroe. A giant bag on day 1, kind of lost ground on day 2 and 3, almost gave it up to Chris Lane, but the final day, 34 pounds plus and a 108-pound total. Big time century busting tournament effort by the Big Bass specialist Ish Monroe on Lake Okeechobee. If you want to be known as the Big Bass specialist, this is a place you're going to have to do pretty good, because this is one of those few select places in this country of ours where you can catch them big, and they catch them big just about every time. The expectations are huge, Dave.
They really do, and certain guys always shine, that's for sure. You know, Ish Monroe seems to do good in these type places because he fishes for big bass. Big Bass Bobby Lane is always in the hunt when you're in Florida and looking for big fish. That's for sure. The Lane brothers every time.
All right, some scenes from this morning. Getting ready for takeoff, which is underway right now. You know, everyone wants to be a big bass. Nobody wants to be the small bass specialist out here on the Bassmaster Elite Series as we take a look at these guys. Very important day today. As we said, you gotta go big today, no matter what kind of situation you're in, simply because of the place we are, Lake Okeechobee. And with that, we take you to our Hummingbird lay of the lake. Look at this giant inland sea, the largest body of fresh water that's totally inside the limits of the United States. Anything else in this size category is a great lake, and David, there's just no place like it. You guys don't go anywhere like this.
No, it's really incredible, and it's certainly one of the favorite places for me to fish and all the other elite anglers, I'm sure. The neat thing about it, it's just so big, but you've got small areas that hold most of the fish year round. Monkey Box is for sure one of them. One thing you'll see for sure about these places that hold a lot of the fish, they're protected. They have a lot of vegetation around them to help protect and keep clean water.
Clean water, that's something you hear a whole lot when people talk about Lake Okeechobee. A big, giant 750 square mile lake that's 9 feet on average in depth. You know, clear water is going to be an issue if the wind blows, and it always blows in Florida.
It really does, and these fish, they just don't like. Stained water on Lake Okeechobee is different than a lot of lakes, say in Arkansas, the rivers, the lakes, South Carolina. That stained water is a different stain. This is decayed vegetation. Those fish really just don't like it. They want to be in that clean water.
Yeah, there's big time. These largemouth here can be a little finicky. Of course, this time of year, the temperature changes. They're very, very sensitive to that. The Florida strain of bass are well known for that. Welcome to the Toyota Bassmaster Studios. Tommy Sanders here. How about this face in the studio? Davey Height going to be joining us a lot of times in the studio this year, and we couldn't be happier for that. The former Classic champ, 2-time Toyota Bassmaster Angler of the Year. You got so much to bring, Davey.
Thank you so much, Tommy. You know, it's great to be here. I woke up this morning at 2 o'clock with everything just rolling in my head, so this is exciting for me, but I got to tell you, I went to bed last night thinking about those 8, 9, 10-pound bass that those guys are catching. So a little torn between the two, but I know I'm going to have fun here with you guys.
Oh, we should have a lot of fun today. This place, as we know, is just full of bass that size. Let's look at these 2 other guys in the studio. As always, Such, Mike Sucon, and Ronnie Moore is with us today. And Such, I know you're looking for the story behind the story. The rest of the story, what are you on today?
I am on the weird beard of Gerald Swindle, but I want to say welcome aboard,
Yeah.
Davey Height.
Absolutely.
Thank you so
Welcome,
much.
Davey
Thank you
Height.
Glad to have you here. I'm going to want to pick your brain all all week.
All right, the Weird Beard and Ron Moore crunching the numbers for us today. If you've got a mind like a steel trap, what's it grinding on right now?
Man, a lot of these guys in practice were saying that Okeechobee was down from 2012 on not a lot of big weights we were going to see, but we saw the top 10. You had to have 20 pounds to be in the top 10. Just speaks to the level of this fishery. You had 18 pounds to even be relevant in the top 20, so these guys are catching them this week, and it's interesting to see the weights going into day 2.
I can officially call these guys sandbaggers now that I'm sitting here. Ronnie, you're going to learn that, that's for sure.
Yeah, that's right. Talk about sandbagging. Ish Monroe, who had about a 27-pound average in his win back in the day, they do this feature here on Bassmaster.com where you hold up a number that you think is going to win, and Ish held up like a 22-pound average, 88 pounds. So, hey, the expectations are being blown apart even as we speak. How about our Raffle of 4 live? We got 4 guys we're covering out there today. Brett Height, man, what a great guy. What a great year he's having.
And you can't think about Florida springtime without thinking about Brett Height and his vibrating jig. He always catches them.
All right, his return to the Elite Series. He won one with that jig. Kenny Horton hasn't won one out here since Champlain, but boy, he's a big-time contender and a former Toyota Bassmaster Angler of the Year as well.
You know, he's known as a deep cranker and that sort of thing, but I remember in 2004, he won a Bassmaster Open event here on Lake Okeechobee. He's really good down here also.
How about Hot Springs, Arkansas? Stephen Browning. He can be on in Florida. He can be off in Florida. He's on. He's pretty formidable.
When he's on, and I guarantee you, just knowing him, he's throwing that vibrating jig too. He's in his wheelhouse when he's doing that. He'll be here on Sunday.
Stephen Browning with a great limit, 26 pounds and 13 ounces. What does he think when he comes in and sees he's being topped by 4 pounds by this guy, Ott Monroe? And I know you say it, momentum is real.
Momentum is everything. You know, Ott won his first elite event, the final event last year. He went to Cherokee, not too far from where he lives, and had a good event, and here doing great this week.
All right, those are our 4 live, our Raffle of 4 live for you today. We're going to be out there on the water with them on Giant Lake Okeechobee. Hey, Dave Mercer, of course, just finished just this second sending these guys off. I'm assuming, Dave, everything got off on time today, and we are underway, ready to go. I know you're ready for it.
The green light, we're out there, and they are fishing right now. You can still hear boats off in the distance. That's how soon after takeoff we're doing this. There was some concern that we would have a fog delay yesterday. We did have a fog delay of 5 to 10 minutes, but today we did not have a fog delay. It was concerning, but Trip took a ride out to the lake, and basically what was imposed is a 30-mile-an-hour speed limit until they got to the main lake where the fog broke up and you could not overtake each other. So it kind of, delayed these guys a little. You imagine the feeling of an Ott Defoe leaving the dock this morning with 31 pounds, 3 ounces, and having to idle past that guy, just trying to get out to that lake. But they are on the water, and they are fishing, and always at Bassmaster events. I mean, safety first. So all our guys are out there and fishing, and it's going to be a crazy day today, guys. I mean, the thing to remember about Florida tournaments is really, of any tournaments we have all year, you can take the day 1 statistics, rimple them up, and throw them out a lot of times. Because if you look at day 4 and day 1, it is a totally different deal. But if you look at the guys that we have in that top 5, some scary names. Timmy Horton has a great track record here. Not a guy who fumbles when he finds that group of fish. Ott Defoe said something to me this morning when I talked to him. He's not in the crowd, so he's one to watch, of course, and then B. Height and you name them. I mean, it is going to be an absolutely awesome day. Whenever you're somewhere that they can catch them like they're catching them here, it's awesome.
Well, Dave, we're, of course, looking at our top 4, our Raffle of 4 live that we've got today. And always these guys get up on stage with you. They'll have a big bag, and they'll kind of say, oh, shucks, I wasn't on anything. I had no idea that I would come out with a day. Now, which one of those guys and they all do it, which one of those guys was really feeding you a line, and which of the guys do you suppose is really on him and knows he's on him?
Well, I mean, Tommy, I don't know which one of them is a liar. I mean, they're all anglers, right. So I'd say they're all liars. But that's the thing with Florida. You can think you're on them. And that's the thing, and Davey will confirm this. This is one of those bodies of water where you can think you're on them. We heard it from Chad Morgentaler yesterday. He used the analogy, and I really wish we had somebody who could have gone to wherever he's staying and find out if it's true. He said he would have been, with his weight at weigh-in, he said he would have been more shocked if he woke up with his head sewn to the pillow. I do not agree with that. I believe if somebody went in there and sewn his head to the pillow, it would have been more shocking. But he really was on those kind of fish that he thought, it's happening. There is no way that this is not going to happen. And that is Florida. I mean, it traditionally is one of those fisheries where 0 to 0. So I think they all really think they're on him. But I will say, Ott definitely seemed shocked. I mean, and he said it this morning. He said, I never would have imagined to have a bag that big. He figured if he could get, mid-teens, he'd be good. But to get in that 30-pound class, it's insane. And that really, I mean, the way Ott's looking at it now, he's had his big day. If you watch most Florida tournaments, you have that big monster day, and then you kind of manage your weight throughout the tournament, and maybe you'll have another spike somewhere. But he's had his monster day, and if those guys are going to catch him, they're going to have to do the same.
I couldn't agree with you more, Dave. I talked to Ott last night, and it was just he and I talking, and, we joke about guys sandbagging. But he said he didn't sleep well the night before the first day because he was really concerned that he would only catch 9 or 10 pounds. He really and truly didn't think he was on anything like the size fish. But that's what happens, and, Dave was exactly right. This is Florida. That's what happens. There'll be some guys that had 9 or 10 pounds yesterday that catch those 20, maybe even a 30-pound bag today, I guarantee you.
Dave, we'll get pictures from the water later on today, but can you give us an idea of how small Okeechobee is actually fishing? That was another one of the big repeating lines you'd hear in the build-up to this tournament. The big lake's going to fish absolutely tiny. How true is that statement?
Yeah, I mean, I thought we were at Lake Okeechobee. It feels like we're on the St. John's River back at Lake George because everybody on top of each other. But the unique thing is, I asked him, he's not part of that group. He said he's got a little area. He says there's guys close, but he says he has a little area off to himself. And I really think that's going to be key because what you're going to see happen is as those guys cycle through their fish, it becomes a lot more difficult to be consistent. Stephen Browning talked about it yesterday. He said, when there's a lot of people in your area, you can't manage that area. A guy like Ott can manage that area. He can, wean what he needs today to make himself through to the weekend and continue it on. But a guy like Browning, he can't do that because there's guys on top of him. So he said, I can probably protect some of the, the key stretches, but those stretches change every single day. So I think that the person that wins this tournament is going to have something off to themselves. I'd be very shocked if somebody won it in that group all 4 days in a row, just simply because after 4 days of pressure, it's just those fish, you got to figure that they're going to peter off as the day goes on. Or as the week goes on.
Well, as we watch in our big box there, that's Ott Defo live, our tournament leader on day number 2 here. Dave, what was the biggest shock to you of the entire weigh-in, positive or negative? What surprised you the most? What got you?
That I made it, to be honest. I mean, no. I mean, that 9.5 was pretty awesome. I mean, when you get a fish like that, and Ott's bag, I mean, I know you're in Florida. I know 30-pound bags are a possibility. But with everything coming into this event, everybody said it was going to be so much tougher. And if you look at the weights, the top 10 was actually better than it was the last time we were here. On day 1, I believe we had 7 bags over 10 pounds. A couple of years ago when we were here when Ish won with 108 pounds. And yesterday we had 10 bags over 20 pounds. So all the swaremouthing, and I talked to Stevie Wright last night, he said he went back to 75th place. 75th place and up caught him better this time around. So I guess that shocked me because coming into it, everybody said this is a much different Okeechobee. The water's dirty. The weights are going to be down. Some people guessed as low as 70 pounds to win this event. An event that, going into, we thought, are we going to be giving Century belts? So I guess the fact that they caught him better than they did the last time, which was pretty spectacular, is probably the most shocking thing from yesterday's weigh-in.
Give me the over and under on us getting a 30-pound plus bag each and every of the last 3 remaining days.
An over-under? I don't know. I mean,
that's not a good way to put it.
We'll have...
That sounds like a guy who just wandered into Vegas from out in the desert, doesn't it?
I don't know, but I'm going to bet 1,000.
There we go. That's good.
Put it on black.
Yeah, okay. Dave Mercer's going to put it on black.
I'd say we'll have two bags this week that'll be over 30.
2 bags in the remaining 3 days of fishing that will be over 30. Dave, what are your thoughts about that right there?
I think it'll be 2 bags total.
Okay.
So 1 bag left in the next 3 days. I think, Dave made a good point about guys fishing on top of one another. Every time we go to Lake Okeechobee, you can tell more of the field has it figured out, so to speak.
Yeah.
I can remember being there in the 2000, 2002, and there were some guys that had it figured out, and then there were some guys like me that were trying to find those fish offshore that don't exist, or you can't make them bite if they do. But guys that are really honed in on the monkey box and around South Bay and Tin House and King's Bar and S&S and just the few places, and I just think it's going to be hard to keep pumping out those big fish, even though we're one of the best big fish lakes in the country, no doubt. But it's going to be really tough to keep producing those 30-pound bass because these guys are so good. And I think some of the guys yesterday that didn't have Randall Tharp for one, that a lot of guys expected to have that 25 to 30-pound bag yesterday. He had 18, which is a good day. Hey, there's some guys that may have fished and caught an 8-pounder in front of him or a 7-pounder or so, and that kind of adds up, and those fish get distributed equally, more so than they ever have.
Yeah, well, one of the old sayings about Okeechobee, the old timers say, hey, if you're not fishing in a crowd, you're not going to have a chance. You got to be where everyone else is because it's so cut and dried as to where the fish are. You believe that big time?
Believe me, I wasted a lot of entry fee money at Lake Okeechobee trying to get away from the crowd. And I don't think anybody can ever get totally away from the crowd, but Dave was exactly right talking about doing just a few things, having one place that maybe isn't getting beat up that you can rely on come Sunday. And it's going to be hard to do. I guarantee you there's guys around, Brett Height typically fishes that monkey box general area down there, Harney Pond. And when you say that, it's not a small area, but for 40 or 50 boats, it's a small area over 4 days. But I guarantee you there's boats all around him, and guys, he's been doing the same thing for multiple years, and might not be real smart, but they'll catch on if you keep kicking their tail.
Dave, would you agree with that?
100%. And Davey, while you're talking, I got a question for you, because one of the things that we keep hearing, and a perfect opportunity to show what you've added to our great team, well, it's great now that you're here, but our team. And I want to ask you, is guys are talking, some guys say that one of the worst things about fishing in a crowd is just the fact that you're watching people catch fish, and you're in a fishery where people are catching big fish. How do you block that out as a competitor, Davey? And when you're competing, do you just try to get away from them, or do you just put blinders on and not even look at it?
Well, you're right. It's a great question, Dave, but I kind of learned the way I deal with it from my time in the military. It's called head down, eyes up. You got your head down and you act like you're not paying attention, but you've got to look. You've kind of got to know. If you see somebody catch a big one, it can be disappointing, but it's also encouraging because those big fish seem to bite, and I'm sure Suk and Ronnie are going to be able to help us with this today. When you see one guy catch one on Bass Track, you'll see, wow, another guy catches 8. There's little times throughout the day, and it's not always first thing in the morning. Sometimes it may be 12, 1 o'clock during the day where multiple big fish get caught. So it can be disappointing that a guy catches an 8-pounder 100 yards from you, but you also got to know, hey, I need to step it up and be right on the best spot that I've got. Maybe they're biting now.
Are you making a noise over there, Such? Is that you? No? Okay, I thought you were trying to get some attention. Still working on the next fact. The next beard fact that's coming up here is on the way as we watch Ott Defo. We got pictures right now. It's a little bit shaky. We're not going to have exactly perfect video all week. We know that. We're in a place that's agricultural in nature. It's not built out as far as phone systems, data systems go, and everything like that. But, it's Okeechobee. We'll take what we can get because we know what's possibly going to happen out there
Well,
today.
I'm glad we're on Ott because looks like he's throwing a frog and maybe swimming a jig a little bit. I'd love to see him catch a 8-pounder on a frog. So I'll be patient with the spotty service, but hopefully we'll see him catch a big one and have some good service.
Got the jig, and we figure maybe something different here for Stephen Browning. We got a little bit of diversity in our baits here this week, don't we, Davey?
We do. The thing that seems like always happens down at Lake Okeechobee is you'll have fish that are transitioning from pre-spawn going to spawn. You'll have fish that are actually spawning and then some post-spawn fish. You've got that. The guys that I've talked to the last 2 afternoons and evenings is that they're catching all 3, pre-spawn, spawn, and post-spawn.
Why does that happen on Lincoln stuff? Yeah, I think that, the big key here in Florida is number one, finding clean water. And and finding the grass. Now, you know, we've got a combination of both here, and you know, in this area, and it's just, you know, it's just one of those places that's always has a great fish population, and that's the reason. You know, the grass kind of filters out the water. You know, the silt in the water, and it kind of filters it out and kind of makes it clean. So they got the best of both worlds up in here. Hard bottom, you know, eelgrass mixed with a little hydrilla, and you know, it's spawning season, so they're going, you know, they're going to find those areas that's got hard bottom to them. So this is this is just creates the perfect storm for them out here. There he is. Good one. Thought it was a good one. Splashed like a good one. Yet, that's a start. I mean, dadgum, we'll take them however we can get them. Started like this yesterday, so be all right. We'll get us a few of those. Get us a few of those, and we'll see if we can't upgrade as the day goes on. All right. Smoked it.
Stephen Browning on the board right there, kind of helping us with our lay of the lake there, telling us a little bit of a few more facts that we need to know about this place. And of course, there's silt. This is not a 75-year-old lake,
right,
which is,
exactly.
This is a thousands and thousands of year-old lake. Silt is a fact of life here.
It really is.
Roll the top.
I thought he was going to give us a little more info on the exact area that he was on, but you're exactly right. Everything is about hard bottom and clean water, vegetation, and you know, you just got to concentrate on those areas. And you see the boats in the background. There's going to be a lot of guys around you because those areas are certainly not secrets anymore. But the key is being able to figure out a pattern in that general area. And like Brett Height mentioned to me last night, the pattern within the pattern, or the spot within the spot.
Kind of staying on the edges of this thicker grass. I mean, it's a lot of grass in it, but there's some that is a little bit more sparse than other areas. And if you can get in an area where it's kind of broken up, it gives those fish, you know, a place to hide, but it also gives you bait, some clean water to swim through to hopefully they'll react to it. That's when they usually load up on it, when you pop it.
That's what I was going to mention, fishing that vibrating jig like he's fishing. If you notice his rod and the retrieve, the speed, what you want that bait to do is to make contact with the vegetation. You'll see his rod angle. Sometimes he'll have his rod up, sometimes it'll be down, sometimes he'll be winding along steady, sometimes speed up. He's doing all that to keep his bait either up in the water column or down because of the height of the vegetation. And it's very, very important. It would be easy and it would be a lot less work. You see him snatching on that bait. You know, you do that for 4 days, you got a sore shoulder for sure. But what you want to do is make contact with that cover, and like he said, that's when the rod loads up.
All right, you kind of slither through there, but not get buried up in it.
Yep.
We just kind of dropped Dave Mercer right there because we had a little action going on. We're not through with Dave by any means. He's so important, so vital to the effort here. Our man on the scene this week. I mean, you're here. That's half of our anchor on-site anchor team right there. And Dave, I know you got a big day ahead of you, and I hope he can hear me. I'm thinking he can hear me right now, but
I can hear you. I can hear you. Yeah, I can hear you. And don't worry, guys. You can drop me anytime. I'm used to it. I mean, it was like when I was single. The cool girls would talk to me until the cool guys showed up.
Hey, if you put that 1,000 on
just
red,
like you guys did. So it's totally cool.
1,000 on black, though.
That's right.
That's the thing. You put it on red, maybe that would change things up. So David, we look at this. The rest
I'll
of
try it.
Yeah, we got our four live, our rappel of four live here. Look at the guys right below that, though. We've got a Bobby Lane, Cliff Prince, Paul Mueller, Andy Montgomery, Fletcher Shryock, and Skylar Hamilton, and Hackney in 11th place right there. As we look at those guys who are bubbling under our Rapala Live 4, who looks the most dangerous to you?
I mean, Bobby Lane and Greg Hackney. I mean, Bobby Lane, anytime you're in Florida, you got to say that. And Hackney, and if you got to do it sometime today. There is some footage, and I'm sure you guys will see at some point, of Greg Hackney bear snatching a giant fish in yesterday, pumping that fish in, and it just shows that the wild beast that Greg Hackney is on the water. But those two are the ones that I watch out for. I mean, any guy in that list can make a charge, but whenever you're in Florida, Bobby Lane, and whenever you're anywhere, Greg Hackney, you got to watch those guys. But you guys were just talking about B height, and I got to ask you guys a question, because I've asked a lot of the writers around here, has there ever been in the history of the sport an angler as dominant with one particular technique? Now, obviously, he's got more in his box than just a bladed jig, but anytime that a bladed jig is in play, he is in the top 12. It really amazes me, and I've looked at other techniques. I mean, maybe there's some drop shotters, but generally, they pop in and out. You can't count on any one technique. So I'll ask you guys, is he the most dominant with one technique that's ever fished?
I certainly wouldn't argue that. I have to think back a long time before I can think of anybody that I would say would compare to him, and that was in the 90s, David Fritz. Oh, it's got one. 90s, David Fritz, with the crankbait.
That's about it. I mean, that's what everyone's answer is. And guys get frustrated because there was a lot. If you look in the gallery, I saw a picture. Jared Lintner didn't have a great day yesterday. And you see him right there, and you see B height right there. And one of the things that guys drive them crazy is they're like, it's a bladed jig. It shouldn't be rocket science. But he's figured out a way to make it rocket science and catch them on it when nobody else is.
Well, that's a great point, Dave. And I, for one, hope we can get some good pictures, because I think everybody wants more of an education on how to run a bladed jig here. It's something that certainly is appealing. I mean, if everyone doesn't have the patience to dob a conventional jig all day long, I mean, that's like your salvation, especially if you can catch them like a Stephen Browning or a B height right there. Dave, thank you so much. We kind of left you hanging on there. Didn't mean to do that. Fantastic. And we'll be leaning on you, Dave Mercer, all day today. So we'll be talking to you really, really soon as we get back out on the water. And we've seen Stephen Browning on default with one in the boat. That's a good start.
Speaking of appealing, throwing a frog on Lake Okeechobee, that's appealing. And that's what Ott Defoe just caught his first one on. Said he caught an 8.6 yesterday on that Terminator frog. That's some fun right there.
Oh my gosh, if we got some more of that to look forward to today, I'm all in.
I'm not a big in the crowd kind of guy, and but with that being said, I mean, you've seen all the past Florida tournaments, especially the St. Johns River and here as well. I mean, it's like the majority of these bigger fish live in a very, very small areas, and if you don't jump in there with everybody, you're gonna be left behind. So. It's an attitude type deal. You can't get frustrated that the guy beside you catches a 6-pounder. You just have to kind of look at it like, hey, you're in the right area. I think that's the biggest key to this deal. And you have to get in here with them, rub elbows with them. Heck, man, they're here. I mean, it's the reason that everybody's side by side out here.
Him saying there's a reason everybody's out there, it certainly is. We all want our spot and no one else around, but it just doesn't really happen that way anymore on these lakes that seem to fish so small with the best anglers in the world. But being respectful of one another. They're not bumping boats. And I'm sure B-Hyde and Browning, they have little certain areas that other guys will respect. I mean, you always have that respect for the leader or the first or second place guy.
Everybody was comparing this to, the closest analogy maybe is the east side of Lake George. You know, all those boats strung up and down. Yet, last time, the time before that, somebody found something a little bit different. Rick Clunn on the other side, getting it done. Alton Jones before that, maybe in a little bit different sort of a situation. So,
speaking of St. Johns River and Lake George, Cliff Prince, don't forget that name.
That name, yeah. He's one of your dangerous guys bubbling up under our 4 Live, our raffle of 4 Live. But Stephen Browning striking early today, certainly on a great. Didn't know whether his pattern would hold out until this morning. So we'll see how it works out. We got a whole lot more, some very encouraging starts to some of these days. I'm just delighted we got pictures from Lake Okeechobee here. This is Bassmaster Live, and we got 5.5 hours left to go today. Let's keep our fingers crossed and just wait for a couple of big ones.
The ARE Truck Caps Bassmaster Elite at Lake Okeechobee is brought to you by Berkeley, Hook, Humminbird, Mercury, Minn Kota, and by Nitro Boats. Continually proven on the tournament trail and with Skeeter owners everywhere with 14 consecutive NMMA CSI Consumer Satisfaction Awards. Our competition doesn't even come close. Right now, buy, save, fish with up to $1,500 in instant rebates through March 31st, including the newly redesigned limited edition FX series. Now is the best time to buy, save, fish. Skeeter.
Is there a place where the underwater images are the clearest you've ever seen? We're seeing every fish, we're seeing every detail of structure, and where every bottom contour was visible, where whatever you wanted to see below the surface was real. Do you want to go? Structure Scan 3D is the future of fishing. We can show you how to find fish faster and catch fish in a way you've never experienced. Let's get them.
Is this being in the moment? Is this hanging out? And is this really playing with your kid? Don't stop what you're doing to capture what you're doing. Keep running, keep playing, keep dancing. Just keep doing.
GoPro, start recording.
Champions aren't born, they're created. Every turn of the prop, every mile on the lake, every cast of the rod, every fish they catch, and every pound they weigh. It builds who they are. It builds a legacy.
Now for your 2016 Bassmaster Angler of the Year!
Facts matter. All monofilament is not the same. Berkeley is the strongest, smoothest, most dependable monofilament line in the world. Why would you risk your fishing trip to a line that's made who knows where just to save a buck? Berkeley has been making and perfecting trilene in America for over 75 years. I spool nothing less than the best. That's Berkeley trilene, and that is a fact.
You're watching the Bassmaster Elite at Lake Okeechobee, brought to you live by Hook.
Bassmaster Live. Hey, another look back at 2012. That was one of the most memorable tournaments of all time on the Bassmaster Elite Series. The only time the Elite has ever been to Okeechobee.
Get your mouth, get your butt.
Until this year. Oh my God.
No matter how long you do it, you still love those moments. The heart is beating fast. You live for those moments.
All these guys, every last one of them, you know, we can talk about how everybody's got their favorite grind them out tournament and stuff like that. everybody wants to go where they can catch them like that, right?
Absolutely. When you see Okeechobee on the list, when they come out with the new season, the elite tournament season for the next year, you see Okeechobee on there, you see Toledo Bend on there, Falcon Lake, those places, you just love it. Just absolutely love it.
That's our standings right now, unofficial, as per Bass Track right now, not Depot. One fish in the boat, same story for Stephen Browning. Tim Horton still waiting on his first one. Brett Ayler has moved up into the top 4, pushing out Brett Height for the time being. Casey Ashley moving up in there. Clip Prince, Bobby Lane hanging tough in the top 5, waiting on their first bite of the day, and you just never know when that bite is going to yield a giant one. That's what Hot Depot's on right now, and we'll get more and more clued in, kind of put the puzzle together on exactly what he's doing. How would you describe this place?
Well, this is right outside the launch. You launch inside the Kissimmee River there, and it just right outside. This is probably the closest area that you could win the tournament. There's some big fish caught up at the lock at the Kissimmee River, but out on the lake, this is the closest area. It's protected. Hard bottom. It's called Kings Bar area because that's Kings Island, and this place, like all the other places in the lake that hold a lot of fish, it changes from year to year depending on the water level and the water clarity. So this general area, although there again, when we say Monkey Box, when we say Kings Bar, when we say Rita Island, we're talking about big areas. It's not 100 acres, it's 1,000 acres. And there's a lot of acreage there, but not many people in this area. I'm assuming, just looking at the weather and the way the wind, you have to really dissect that each and every day, how you're going to approach this lake. I'm assuming this water will probably be clearing in this area. So if I caught a fish or two there yesterday, it could get better as the tournament goes on for them. Other areas will change, depending on the wind direction. But this area here should get clearer. And if he's catching a lot of his fish here, it's a good thing.
You think this is where he did most of his damage yesterday?
I talked to him on the phone last night. He said he's fishing close and down south, so fishing different areas. And that's another key that I think, and one big reason that Ish Monroe won the tournament in 2012. He moved around according to the wind, and the wind moving the clear water around, not being afraid to move from one area to the other. But it's good to have multiple areas and not just be on one mat of hydrilla in one of these key areas, whether it be South Bay or Monkey Box or whatever. But if you can move around, which you'll almost always have to do in a 4-day event. Now, a 1-day tournament like they have local events, you can stay in that one place and hammer them down. But the wind direction changes, the wind speed, the water clarity, all that. The guys that typically win 3- and 4-day tournaments on Lake Okeechobee move around to different areas in the lake.
For a place without conventional current that we talk about,
yeah,
water can change fast in this lake, can it?
It really does, and I learned that the hard way, through the years. There is current on Lake Okeechobee, obviously, when you have a lot of water moving through the Kissimmee River and going out on the other end, that sort of thing. But there's a different current on any big lakes, the Great Lakes, and Lake Okeechobee is not a great lake, but it almost is. It's a huge lake. And the wind will actually push water, that big bowl, it'll push it from one side to the other and create a current. And now that can be good and bad. Anytime you have current, it helps position fish. But if that current is pushing in real hard on the area you're fishing, it can dirty up the water. But the thing that is hard to understand is you can also get your water dirtied up being on the protected bank because that water is pulling away so much. And I don't like to really call this silt because it's more thousands of years of decayed vegetation.
Yeah, okay.
And silt and this decayed vegetation is two very different things. The first years in my Bassmaster career when I started going down to Lake Okeechobee, man, I love staying water to throw a vibrating jig or a spinnerbait or a crankbait, that sort of thing. So I spent many long hours trying to find fish in that dirty water. It's a different stained water down there.
Okay.
Got a big bass alert.
Okay.
Jesse Takaranti got a 8-0.
Oh, man.
8-0. That changes things.
It does. And there's a lot of them out there. We know there's a lot of them out there. In the absence of Mark Zona this morning, we'll say for the first time, quad split, 4-box for you right there, ladies and gentlemen. Happy to offer that to you today, including Brett Hyde and Ronnie Moore. You gave us a little briefing yesterday, just kind of casually standing around watching the goings-on about Brett Hyde's career down here at Okeechobee.
Yeah, guys, Brett Hyde, this is his first time fishing an elite event at Okeechobee. He wasn't on the elites in 2012, but he's won tour level events, professional events here. He won in 2014. I believe he had 88 pounds, which was exactly what a lot of these guys' guesses was, mid-80s. So that was a 4-day event as well that he's won here. You know, just looking at his wins, he's won Seminole for the elites, the Cal Delta, and Toho at other tour level events. He's not afraid of these big fish factories. And like Davey talked about, when grass is involved, he seems to rise to the top. But it's a little crazy. I'm a little shocked he didn't do well at Cherokee, because when there's deep, clear water, he's at the top too. So Brett Heights has definitely a long history, especially on these southern lakes with big bass.
You know, that's a great point, and a lot of people think Brett and I are kin, and I think we are. You know, his great-grandfather and my great-great-grandfather were from Virginia, but we're, you know, he's certainly not my son or whatever. But I talk to him a lot. He's a great guy. He's a great guy.
He really is.
And I talked to him about Cherokee because it really surprised me. And he, like a lot of the other guys that you'd expect to do well there, fish that place. Think smallmouth, you think rock, you think hard bottom. They get up on top of those shoals, and the guys that caught them in depressions, and they caught them down in the holes where the smallmouth, the northern smallmouth, you almost never see them do that. And there was a good bite going on the first 2 hours of the morning at that tournament, as y'all well know. You know, Jesse Wiggins caught all his fish, you know, basically in the first 2 hours each day. A lot of other guys too. And if you missed that in the 3 mornings of practice, you had about a 2-hour window. And if you didn't figure that out in that small time period, if you think about it, you know, 6 hours is not a lot of time to learn a new body of water. You got largemouth, you got smallmouth, you got all this stuff going on. And you just miss it. The guys that really did good there, they figured that out, or they went and pre-fished for, you know, a week or two.
2 weeks in the case of the winter.
And figured that out. So, you know, even though these guys are the best in the business, they absolutely are. You know, when you go to a place and it's, you know, that finesse jig is so specific to Cherokee Lake, and those smallmouth relating to those depressions and those old sunken ponds and that sort of thing, you know, even the best in the business might miss that with a small window there to be able to figure that out each morning.
Well, Zona kept saying it, and we all said it during the coverage there, and he's even got an article to back it up here. How in the world do the best drop shotters in the world not get a bite when it's so close, dropping straight down still?
And if you use 2 of your 3 mornings of that 2-hour window to learn that they won't really bite this drop shot, then, you know, it's amazing how time flies. Speaking of time flying, 2 days on Lake Okeechobee, guys that didn't think they would catch like odd, he was worried that he might only catch 9 or 10 pounds, caught 30 pounds yesterday. There'll be some guys that flip-flop today from yesterday, and you get cut in 2 days, and it just time goes so fast on a big body of
whirlwind,
water.
isn't it?
It really is.
Well, when you even look at it, the AOY standings, like you're talking about day by day, these Florida Lakes flip-flop. Well, you look at the first event, if you stubbed your toe, as long as you catch them here, it's like it never happened. You can recover from one of those early mess-ups. You know, Brett Height in the hundreds at Cherokee, because of his good day one here, already at 53rd unofficially in Angler of the Year points just after yesterday. So another, you know, if he makes it to day 3, if he makes it to day 4, he's boom right there back in the top 50 cut for AOY, like it never even happened.
That's a great point. You know, I like this because I can see both sides of the fence, and I've been on both of them now. I'm about an hour into it.
Yeah.
But as an angler, you don't want to talk about Angler of the Year in the first or second event, but you better be thinking about it. Because you can't win Angler of the Year in the first, second event, but you can certainly lose it. And you can lose the Classic in the first 2 events. And, you know, I'm not going to be picking on anybody. When I'm talking about this kind of stuff, I'm talking because I've been there and done that. But Jacob Wheeler went from winning his first elite, leading Angler of the Year, and all of a sudden had one bad day, and now he's out of the Classic.
That's unbelievable.
I mean just how fast that can happen.
The season is shorter than you think. It may seem like a lot of driving on a long trail, but it goes by fast.
It really does. But he catches 30 pounds a day and then go into Saturday and catch him Sunday. He could be right back where he was yesterday. But it's just, you better catch him each day, because these guys are wolves and they will eat you up if you don't.
It's also a tone setter, you know, when Tharp goes and gets a top 12 at Cherokee, and now the rest of the schedule's laying out perfectly for Tharp's kind of fishing, you know.
That's a big one compared to the ones that's been hitting it. Imagine them little bitty turds.
Pound and a half. That's what they are in Florida. Pound and a half or 12 pounds. They wouldn't bite the popping frog.
Got our ceiling getting a little bit
but
higher.
They bite the walking frog.
With every passing minute here, it was a little foggy when we started out up in the treetops. Wasn't enough to delay the start, but let's take a look at our TH Marine Weather Watch. Even subtle weather changes. We're talking about these Florida strain bass, so we need to pay attention to the little changes in the temperature, especially today. High of 83, that's higher than it was yesterday. I don't think it even got out of the 80s, out of the 70s yesterday. Saturday looking basically the same thing, and maybe a little bit cooler on Sunday for our finale. Anything you see there that might affect the Florida strain bass?
The thing that jumps out to me on Lake Okeechobee, like I mentioned earlier, the wind speed and direction. And if you notice, it's north-northeast, then goes to southwest, and back north-northeast. That 8, 9, 10 mile an hour wind speed doesn't seem like a lot, but on Lake Okeechobee, it's a lot. If you're on the shoreline that's getting all of that wind direction at 10 miles an hour, you'd be amazed. It's 2, maybe even 3 foot. At least 2 foot swells coming in on your fish can totally change everything.
Absolutely. You fill a dinner plate up with water and just kind of barely blow on it. Watch the other side of that plate, what happens over there. You got a big, shallow bowl here, so it's very susceptible to all the elements. That's our TH Marine Weather Watch. We'll have some more of those as we go through the day, get you updated on that. We'll try to take care to watch the weather. Sometimes we neglect to inform you of what's going on, and we get caught ourselves, but we're going to stay on top of that. Back out to Stephen Browning.
Speaking of the wind, these guys throwing a bladed jig. This looks like perfect wind. You don't want slick calm for that. Okay. You want a little wind, not too much wind. You know, we always want things just perfect. You got
Man, it's freaking slamming it. Make you put them in the box. Put them in the box. Never know. Go through them later. That's not really the size we're after, but you know, you can't complain with a bite. That's the whole thing, is you catch enough of them if they'll bite. You catch enough of them, we'll have a sack full of them when this thing's over with today. There actually doesn't seem to be as many boats out here today that there was yesterday. Maybe there you go. You see that? Good one too. Yeah. One down. One down. That's what I said. It's a numbers game. You run through them. No cool tag on that one. We're gonna put him in there. That a baby. All right. All right. It's a numbers game. Did you see how that deal that was though? I mean, I popped it out of that grass, and I mean, she's freaking smoked it. That's where you want to get them to, right at the top of the lip. That hard spot. Thing about it, there could be 4 or 5 more just like it right there with her. There's nothing any funner than a chatterbait bite. I mean, it doesn't get any better.
Talking about how fun it is to catch them on a chatterbait. This is kind of a day of discovery for us. We're just kind of getting tuned in. These guys will open up more about their baits as we get further into this tournament. So, Davey, for our Yamaha Taste the Bait, let's look back to 2012.
Well, you know, the lake's fishing different than it did in 2012, and there's a couple reasons why. We had such a mild winter. These fish are farther along. More of these fish are post-spawn. I think probably more of the fish in the whole lake are post-spawn than there are pre-spawn or spawning right now, although you got a little bit of all three going on. But the other thing that's very different this year is in 2012, the lake had been low a couple years previous to that, and you have a lot of these reeds that grow up, and you've got what are called buggy whips, and then the reeds, and these fish at Okeechobee use that as a staging area when they're pre-spawn, and so do the crappie and the bluegill and everything else. They use it just like a stump row on Kentucky Lake, or you know, any other lake that we're used to. You know, even the Arkansas River. It's hard bottom, it's cover, and it's a staging area. Since the lake has been higher, all this just dies away, and you don't have those staging areas for those fish to hold on as much. And then, like I mentioned, these fish, a lot more of them are post-spawn, so they're not staging to go in. They move back out into the lake.
Good stuff. That's a Yamaha Taste the Bait for right now. We look at some of the photograph galleries and what from yesterday and what we're seeing now, what Steve Bowman and Chris Mitchell and the rest of them shot out there yesterday. You know, our images of fish were, you know, into the tules or bulrushes or reeds or whatever you want to call it. I mean, like camped out in there. They seem to be backed up, like you said, to back that up a little bit this time.
But keep in mind, there's still some of that, and there's some guys that just are going to do that no matter what. There's some guys that'll be fishing on Sunday. I'd be shocked if we don't have at least 2 of the guys that are fishing on Sunday that are flipping that same type stuff. It's just not a lot of it going on. You have to really search hard for it. But big fish love to stage on those places. The other thing that's got guys out in the open water, I think there's a shad spawn going on there. And any lake you go, and it seems, geez, a shad spawn in February? Well, it is Lake Okeechobee.
Well, yeah,
but anytime you have a shad spawn going on, you're going to have guys that want to be out in the open water where those shad are, fishing spinnerbaits, vibrating jigs, and that sort of thing.
And this is a really early deal like it is most places?
Yep. Early morning, really good. If you get some clouds and some fog like they had there yesterday and today, it lasts a little longer. But when you see some guys, it looks like Brett's out a little more here. That's probably what they're doing. There's schools of shad out on these outer places. And that's the one thing that'll draw these fish away from that clear water, but they're not going to go way out in it. But they'll follow those shad to a certain extent out in that lake to just take advantage of a feeding opportunity. And like Mercer was talking earlier, this is a deal where if Brett's catching some of his fish like that, where you don't see a lot of boats in the background, it could be to his advantage big time come Sunday.
One of our Rapala 4 live that we're not seeing, you've probably noticed right now, is third place Timmy Horton. And of course, it's location, 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 as they say here on Okeechobee. You see where he is a long, long way from where we're in. And obviously, there are places here that are light on cell service and data, and that's like Dracula needs blood. We need cell service and data.
We would love to be watching him live, because he told me last night that he caught like a 6 and an 8 within 10 flips of one another, 10 casts, whatever he was doing. I'd love to see some of that going on right now.
Wouldn't you?
Yeah, it is pretty bad on the. You get like one bar everywhere you go around here, you know?
Stephen Brown, he's listening to the show. I like that. I like it when the anglers tune in.
Great minds think alike.
I guess
or either he's
right.
listening, one of the other.
Or somebody told him to comment on that. That's more likely story.
And if you're listening, not catch an 8-pounder on that frog right quick.
Yeah, would you?
You know, I got to tell a quick story about Odd and that frog that he's throwing. We were at a writers conference, and Odd had a frog laying on his front deck that I didn't recognize. And I just, because we weren't at a tournament, I just picked the rod up off his boat, and I said, "Where'd you get that frog?" "Oh, it's a prototype." You know what pros always say. It's a prototype. It's a prototype. But it looked interesting, and I just made a cast with it. And it had a very unique, a very good-looking action. I'm like, I can't believe this. This thing is really good. Why don't I have one? And Randall Tharp, which fishes a frog a lot, he was there, and he was just 2 boats down. And I walked down. I said, "Do you have one of these frogs?" And he said, "What frog?" Kind of like me. And I said, "This." And I made a cast with it, and his eyes lit up too. So Randall and I both jumped in Ott's boat and got the couple others that he had, but it's a Terminator frog. It's really, really a unique and very good frog. I love fishing frogs. There's nothing any more exciting. Brandon said earlier that love to catch them on a vibrating jig or a chatterbait, that sort of thing. A frog is man, it's incredible, especially on a big bass lake like Lake Okeechobee.
Maybe we'll get lucky. Maybe we'll see big old blow up, big old toilet flush right here in a second. I would love that. Of course, when Ott came out, he was, he's always been sort of on the leading edge of the new baits. And if he can't find something, he'll craft it himself and customize it himself, right?
It's that East Tennessee thing. Those guys, they hand carve so many crankbaits. And the first thing I've seen Ott do to several popping type baits, poppers, he grabs a pocket knife and starts whittling on the front of them, that sort of thing. So always modifying something. But
message from Dave Mercer. Ott told me his 2 biggest fish came on the frog.
Wow.
How about that?
That's fun. That's fun stuff.
Now, Davey, do you know why some of these guys catch so many numbers, but they're smaller in the mornings? We saw yesterday just so many fish early with big ones sprinkled in, and there wasn't really a big concentration of big ones until that 10 to 12, that midday portion. There was like 20 fish over 5 pounds caught, but in the morning period, combined the first 3 hours, there wasn't even 20. So, what's the deal with, is it a timing deal for specific big ones?
I think that tells me that there's still a fair amount of fish that are spawning. A lot of times overnight, the males will pull up and actually they make the bed or form the nest first, and they stay there before, during, and after, where the female is just up there for a much shorter period of time. And those males will already be up, and they made that nest or that bed overnight. And the female just isn't up there yet, isn't set up. They're kind of sitting out suspended. I know you've seen it when you've sight fished. That female, she's just kind of out roaming around. But then during the day, as the water temperature rises and those eggs develop, that female will move up there and set up, and that's when you catch those fish.
I mean, that's you would think, boy, howdy, if you, whatever you reel across their face, they'll bite. But a lot of times it's just a simple color change, I mean, it makes a difference in a great day and just having a decent day. Same thing with your weight, you know. I mean, it's a deal where just changing a little bit of a weight size, just a rate of fall, could have something, you know, can make a difference in a day.
He's talking about color change. I noticed that last fish he caught was his biggest one yet this morning, and he had changed from a black-blue vibrating jig to a green pumpkin.
Man, you got a pair of eyes. I could.
Hey, we always looking for an edge.
I guess that's right. You're conditioned to look for that kind of.
But he had moved, changed to a green pumpkin.
Tommy Biffle just caught a 6.5 pounder. Marty Robinson followed with a 5. Those guys are way down the standings. They're in the bottom third.
According to Tommy's prediction of what it'd take to win the tournament, he catch one more 5-pounder, he's got it
He's
sewed
halfway
up.
there. 66, I think, is what he wrote on a sheet of paper right there. And Ish wrote 88. Ish, who caught 108.
Well, Davey, what goes through those guys' minds that some of them are saying, I think we're going to catch 96 and somebody else is there 70?
Well, when you say some of those guys are Tommy Biffle's mind. Tommy Biffle's thinking, oh, they're full of crap. I've been down here before they were born. You know, it all depends on who you're talking about. What went through my mind? Boy, I didn't have the practice I should have had. These guys, you know, if one guy says that, you think, well, he just wanting to make the photo gallery. But when you got 15, 20 guys saying 90 plus, you know, 8 or 10 guys saying 100 plus, and you're thinking 60, not a good practice. Not a good practice.
You have to do a little self-examination.
Where should I go? Monkey box? That's where they'll all be, you know. But then, you know, sometimes when you go there and you're saying a weight a whole lot heavier than everyone else, you know, it's, oh boy.
Yeah. Wow, 1 hour of fishing under our belt. Been a pretty fun hour. Only thing we're missing, what we talked about at the top of the show. Big ones.
Big ones.
Need a couple of big ones.
Big one on a frog.
Big one on a frog. That's what we're hoping for. Stephen Browning, though, no lack of bites this morning. Got his chatterbait tuned in. This pattern that he worried wouldn't even be there this morning. Seemed to be some remnants of it here anyway.
I talked to him last night. When we come back, I want to talk a little bit about yesterday morning to Stephen Browning.
Okay, we got that to look forward to, and 5 more hours of Bassmaster Live coming your way today from the Big O, where the big ones live, Lake Okeechobee. Take a quick break, and we'll be right back.
Man, it's slow today.
Yep.
Mom, I caught a fish.
Good job, sweetie.
Hey, what kind of lure is that?
It's a Livingston. They have electronic bait fish sounds that activate as soon as they hit the water. Easiest way to catch a fish.
Hey, thanks.
Fishing fans, make plans to be at the 2017 Geico Bassmaster Classic, presented by Dick's Sporting Goods, March 24th through the 26th in Houston, Texas. See 52 of the world's best anglers weigh in their catch from Lake Conroe at Minute Maid Park, home of the Houston Astros. A weigh-in show like never before and one you've got to see in person. Check out the biggest outdoors expo in B.A.S.S. history, featuring the latest in fishing gear, giveaways, and more. Fun for the whole family, and all events are free. Join us in Houston for the Geico Bassmaster Classic and be a part of the most exciting 3 days in fishing, period.
Hey, thanks, Dame.
Out of office? Oh, man.
Hi, this is Skeet.
Skeet, out of office?
Dude, don't be mad because I thought of it.
What?
I gotta go. I got someone on the line.
Go to teamgtfishing.com to check out my real job.
We're supposed to be working. I am working.
You're watching the Bassmaster Elite at Lake Okeechobee, brought to you live by Hook.
Seen some good stuff already on Bassmaster Live. Some great stuff is about a month down the road here. Take a look at it. Houston, Texas, the Bayou City, March 24th, 25th, and 26th, the 3 most important days in the sport of bass fishing. Geico Bassmaster Classic, Lake Conroe. There's Houston, Texas right there, 4th largest city in the United States. And just about 40 minutes up I-45, Lake Conroe. And these guys, well, a lot of them have been there before. The Elite Series has never been to Conroe before.
They haven't, and I'm disappointed I haven't been there. I might have to make a trip there between now and the Classic and just look around. But, a lot of big fish, great weather, great city. Just really looking forward to it.
Absolutely. It's going to be a big, big day, of course. Huge metro area there, huge sports town. Houston, Texas, we're going to be right there in Minute Maid Stadium for the weigh-in, and right the George Brown Convention Center right across the street, the greatest outdoor show in the world, in my opinion, right here. The Classic Expo presented by Dick's Sporting Goods. We'll be there. Davey will be there. Myself, Mark Zona, right in the middle of it doing the Bassmaster Live. So come by and visit with us and take in all of it. So many different product categories, everything that's new in the sport.
I've never heard a man, woman, or child that went to their first Classic didn't say that they enjoyed it. I mean, it's for everyone. It really is.
Absolutely. Be plenty of room for everyone. Again, we're in one of the biggest baseball stadiums in the world right there in Minute Maid Park. If it's anything near as dramatic as last year, Edwin Evers catching 30 pounds in the final.
Wow.
Come on. How are you going to beat that? Maybe we can do it at Conroe.
It's going to be hard to top that, but that's a lake that it could happen. I mean, some really, really big bass there, and it'll be exciting. Like I said, I've never talked to anyone that attended the Classic that didn't enjoy it.
Let's take a look at this just moments ago. Let's get back out to Stephen Browning. That'll go in the box if it measures, right?
Yeah.
Well, you hate to keep a little old rat at home.
Well, they say you hate to keep it, but you can't jinx yourself and chunk back one. You can't be overconfident. You look at guys like Ish Monroe that was catching 30-pound bags some days and then only had, 9 or 10 pounds yesterday. You better put that fish in a box. You have no givens on this lake. Anything can happen, just like he said.
We always kind of suck in our breath when we see somebody throw a fish out, being a little bit uncautious.
And the old saying, if you catch one on first cast, it's a jinx. Now I'm putting that sucker right in the box, right in the live well.
Big bass alert, Jesse Tacarante at 8.5 now.
To go along with an 8?
He's got an 8 and an 8.5.
Yes.
16 pounds in 2 casts.
And what did he have yesterday, Sue?
Oh gosh, let's go back there. He was down.
I noticed he was way down, but there's 11.10 yesterday. He's caught 2 8-pound
place out here. I think it was actually that patch right there, maybe. Had some bites in this Kissimmee grass. I might be toad.
There's what 2 8-pounders will do for you, from 78th place and
This water's
10
so much
pounds
clearer
to
than it was
3rd on
yesterday.
Bass Track.
You see
He has
that?
only his 3
This
fish today,
yesterday, you
2
couldn't see
8s
about
and
4 or
1.
5 inches.
Tacarani's a Florida guy, right, Ron?
He's from Orlando, yes, even though he qualified through the Northern Opens.
Right.
Got him.
A little turd. Looked like there's 2 or 3 of them hit at it. Biggin'. I mean, giant. Florida special. He may go 1.25 pounds even. Nope. Not even a pound and a quarter.
You know, I hope he catches 30 pounds again today, and he very well can. But this is Lake Okeechobee. I mean, he can go do the exact same thing he did yesterday.
I'm gonna have
and keep catching those size.
Catch the same number of keepers.
Oh yeah,
and have 1/3 of the poundage.
It'll drive you nuts. It'll drive you nuts.
Defoe, of course, a great start to his season.
There's
right there.
Timmy.
Okay, Timmy Horton. We got some Timmy Horton in here. He was the one who jumped out to the big lead early yesterday.
And I mentioned you would see one or two of the guys on Sunday flipping those reeds, and looky here.
You called it.
What Timmy's doing.
He'll be our guy.
It's neat. We got the quad 4 going on.
Yeah.
And all the guys doing different things. You know, Ott's throwing a white frog. Timmy's flipping those reeds. B.A.S. throwing a vibrating jig, as you know, but Brown is throwing us. So 2 of them doing the same thing, basically. On the high driller, throwing a vibrating jig. And then the thing I noticed is Ott, though, another small one. He's fishing this white jig. There's probably a shad spawn going on where he's at. The way he's fishing that jig early in the morning and that solid white jig like that. So it just tells me, along with some earlier footage of Brett Height, there's some guys that are really paying attention to that shad spawn early in the morning.
Number 4 for Ott Defoe. You know, this is about 2 months later, this same time last year. We're on Toledo Bend, shad spawn in the morning, played a part in a lot of game plans. You know, you could get yourself at least in the right frame of mind or feeling a lot better if you could have some success with that before you got your big fish day going in earnest. So kind of the same thing going here. We're like you can't say we're way south.
Oh,
I mean, we're in the Caribbean basically.
We are. And you can see a little disappointment in Ott's face there, but
Timmy
no disappointment here.
Oh my gosh.
Big one.
He's still on there. Oh, that's a big one. Oh, gosh.
Wow.
Oh, that's crazy. I got hooks everywhere. That's the way you start a morning. Clone across them. Man, I set the hook and he came. Which I'm about to cut that. He came 10 feet to the side of that reed and I'm sitting there fighting him. We had us a train wreck, but we got it. Oh, yes. Got it, Nate? That's what I'm talking about. Oh, yes. So, nothing like that braided line Bass Pro, I'm telling you. You gotta have it in this thick stuff. Oh my gosh. Oh. I love catching big ones, but I don't like that kind of drama when it happens. Oh my gosh.
Takarani caught a 4.
Oh,
He's up to
shake.
21.5.
And the reeds and the lures 10 foot on the outside, or the fish is just rolling around. I had to bring him back into it and get him lodged up. Oh, man. I love it. to bring him back into it and get him lodged up. Oh, man. I love it.
If anyone's having trouble getting their heart started this morning, I think that took care of it right there. Wow. That's all you can say about that.
You know, this sport is just so great. No matter how long you've been doing it, you know, we saw Rick Clunn last year when he won that event. You know, Timmy Horton's been out here for quite a while. No matter how long you've been doing it, you just love it. I mean, it's just in our blood. I'm sure 99.9% of the folks that are watching us right now, and every one of those elite anglers, it's in our blood. It's what we get up in the mornings for, and you never stop loving it. You never stop.
That's part of this whole deal with the jack. Yeah.
Was it you, Such, or Ron was saying his first 2 fish yesterday? What were his first 2 fish yesterday, Ron?
Yeah, he caught an 8-pounder and a 6-pounder to start his day 1, and he caught them within 15 minutes of each other, so another big one to start his day 2.
Let's get him back in the 4 box here. Let's not take our eye off Timmy Horton. He might do it again.
And one thing you notice, I saw one boat in the background. I think it was some of our guys, you know, covering maybe Bowman or someone. But I didn't see another fishing boat anywhere in the background.
No.
And boy, that's got to feel good for Timmy.
Oh. Like you and Dave Mercer both said it. That could be a difference maker for somebody.
Yep.
You think his experience and how many times he's came to Okeechobee has kind of given him that I need to go find something way off the wall in the bottom corner of the lake?
You know, I didn't know this until now, but I mean, we see where he's at in the lake. I'm pretty sure that's the area that he won in 04. And that gives you a lot of confidence when you got a win under your belt.
Now, was his last Bassmaster win before Champlain? Was it not at Kissimmee?
Yes,
Yeah.
he has 2 wins in Florida at the Kissimmee chain and at Okeechobee. But Champlain is his most recent.
Yeah.
It's the beard, Sue.
Yeah. Most definitely, it's going to be the beard. And he looks like there's nobody near him. None of our competitors.
Fear the beard.
Beard-wise, you mean there's nobody near him or what? Okay. We'll sort this out for you here because apparently it's a lot of beard info backed up and ready to release.
Beard game strong on all of them.
Ott. Here we go with Ott.
A big one, but a big one.
Davey, one thing I was thinking about, do you think that it helps Horton a lot that he does his own TV show, that, you know, during those winter months he comes to Florida and fishes for his show, so he gets a lot more experience than people give him credit for down here?
Yeah, probably so. You know, the last event we talked about how some of the rookies or the younger guys didn't have as many sponsor commitments during the month of January, and we're able to come December and January, we're able to come pre-fish, you know, filming a show. Taking that time, although you're working, getting a feel of the lake and the general area, if not there on Lake Okeechobee, in the Everglades or, somewhere in that area probably. Yep. Good point. It's interesting. I love this split screen. Zona might not like the quad 4.
No, he loves it.
I like the 44. It's great to see Stephen Browning and Brett Hite both throwing a vibrating jig, and both obviously know what they're doing by their weights yesterday. But pay attention to the rod angle of these two. Now, you really can't pay attention and learn much from the speed that they're reeling because you don't know what gear ratio they're using.
Okay.
But you can certainly learn from rod angle. And I see 2 very different things going on. not only when they're fishing the bait, Stephen seems to have his rod up more, but one thing that I've noticed through the years with Brett, you'll never see him set the hook with a vibrating jig up like you would flipping. Wow. You'll always see him swing to the side or down and to the side. And I noticed Stephen, see his rod tends to be up. He'll drop it, like I said, to adjust that bait. But on a couple of his hook sets, they were up. And Brett is a firm believer that you lose more fish if you do that. Now, you certainly can't say Stephen Browning doesn't know what he's doing, because he, you know, had a huge bag yesterday, and everybody knows he's good with that jig, but it's just different philosophies. You know, doing seminars all over the country through my career, you know, what works for you, you just keep on doing it. And if you're having success, you certainly don't change it. But it's interesting
Brett's
as a
saying
viewer.
that's just a more percentage deal if you go lateral or go sideways with that.
Pull into that fish sideways rather than coming up with the rod. Like I say, I know he's a firm believer in that, but you can't say Stephen's wrong. You can't say that at all, because, you know, the day he had yesterday, and not just yesterday, he catches them a lot. But it's different to listen to different philosophies and experienced anglers. One of the first crankbait seminars I ever listened to, David Fritz and Rick Clun both happened to be speaking, and one of them said that a certain gear ratio was the only ratio you could use, and the other one said something totally different, much higher. Who are you going to argue with about crankbait fishing? David Fritz or Rick Clun? Neither one.
Stephen Browning hooked up here?
Right. I mean, it's just interesting to watch and see the different perspectives.
Fish over here by y'all don't have a rod in your hand. That's probably the better of the little ones. All right, it's a start. That's 5. Not the 5 we're looking for. We got 1, so I know that we're 3 good bites away. 4 good bites.
What did you say, Ronnie?
It's funny to see my dad in the background photobombing an angler. He's the boat driver with Steve Bowman this week. And
I see where it comes from. Now, see, he was all over it. He was on it. He was all over it. That's where the acorn doesn't fall too far from the tree.
I noticed that Stephen had changed from black, blue to green pumpkin, and Ronnie noticed that's my dad.
Yeah, that's right. Everybody's keyed into different things.
Eyes than I do.
Yeah.
You even say hi, son.
We saw him in a lot of weigh-in shots yesterday, did we not? He was there at the weigh-in. Did we not see him backstage?
Oh, he's
all over.
as many places as he can be.
He's like Ronnie. He's
the reason I'm here today, probably, for getting it involved. So that's cool.
There we go.
I did just notice there's another boat just up on the right-hand side of the screen with Timmy Horton. There is one other fishing boat, but only one that I've seen so far.
Now, do we know if he's moved, or is he still in that sort of little more remote place? Where
I'm gonna have to bet he's probably moved from.
Yeah.
I don't think he'd have service where we saw him
first saw
earlier.
him. Yeah. Yeah, he's telling somebody to back up a little bit there.
$5 for 20.
Yeah. Unfortunately, Google search is stopped. I think they're on different networks.
Well, get real close. Okay.
It's all about bowling.
It is all about bowling. You not realize that, Wes? How long you known him? Yeah.
think everyone in this room will agree that the sooner you figure out that it is all about Bowman, the
Easier your life will be.
Yes, absolutely, absolutely.
It's really surprising to me that earlier we were seeing a good many boats in the background from Stephen and Brett Hite's boat, but you don't see any now. They must be fishing out a little farther than a lot of the guys.
Yeah, I was wondering the same thing because Browning especially was like right in the middle of a bunch when we first started watching. Stephen Browning first really hit the national stage winning the old All-American.
I remember that. I
Pine
remember
Bluff,
that.
Arkansas.
Yep. Caught some of them on a commode.
On an old toilet.
Yeah, sunken toilet.
Sunken toilet.
I guess it was an old one.
Yeah, well,
it was a sunken one. I saw that show long before I ever met Stephen Browning. Yep, I sure do. I remember that. And then when I met him, I thought, this is long before I'd won a big tournament. I actually met a guy that won $100 grand.
Yeah,
Stephen Browning.
He sure did.
Yeah. Super guy.
Absolutely.
Great family. His wife, and he's got a son that I guarantee you we're going to see out here one day.
Oh, he's already won the high school, or the junior high national championship.
Well, he hadn't got
Bo
to high
Browning.
school yet. He's going to win that one too.
Oh yeah, big time golfer also, Bo Browning.
Yeah, Bo Browning.
Bumped into him in Bass Pro the other day, so he's definitely just in the tackle shop as much as possible.
All right. Yeah, watch that name.
Yeah, I remember a guy told me that he lived right outside of Jacksonville, Florida, and he said, "There's this high school kid down here. Remember this name, Tim Tebow."
Oh,
Tim
really?
Tebow.
Tim Tebow.
So I'm saying, remember Bo Browning.
Okay.
He's gonna be out here.
We're wondering where Timmy Horton actually is right now. We saw him start the other side, northwest corner of the lake there, but that's where he's right now. I'm not quite sure what we're looking at.
It looks like maybe Red Island.
Okay.
I'm thinking.
Really expected this to be just.
Got to zoom out a little bit, but I think that's where we're at. Yep, that's it.
That's Red Island. Okay.
Yep. Kramer, okay. Down on that south corner, Pelican Bay, back in there to the southeast of him.
Kind of doing a slow pull out here. We'll get a little bit better perspective. Yeah, here we go.
Not a lot of guys down there, but that area always yields one or two like 30-pound bags when we have the big catches here at Lake Okeechobee. Most of the guys are up there on that northern side. They call it the North Shore. It looks like the West Shore to me, but hey, I was just a visitor every time I was there. But Ott's up there on what I consider the North Shore. But if you tell a local that's the West Shore there where Browning and Brett Hite are, they're going to call you a visitor, that's for sure. Go back up north to South Carolina where you came from, boy.
Yeah, go back. You're one of us.
But Timmy down in an area that, the reason a lot of guys don't fish there because the winds will really get you right there. The northern winds, the northwestern wind, if you just imagine that direction, it will eat your lunch right there. And very seldom can you fish there for 4 days. You might get lucky, but that's what usually will happen in that area that he's at. A north or a northwest wind will it'll just trash that for days or maybe even a week or so at a time, especially on the outside of that Kramer Island where he's at.
If I understand it right, as you were talking before we came on the air today, you say even if it's blowing like that, the wind can even stop and mess you up. If it stops, it's like the water sloshing back and forth in a bowl.
It is, or even like you mentioned, maybe a better analogy would be on a plate, because that is so big and so shallow. I remember the first time I came to Lake Okeechobee, I went all the way across it, and my depth finder never went deeper than 11 feet. Now that'll depend on the water level, obviously, but it's just not any deep water out there. So imagine a plate of water, and you tilt the plate, or either you, like you said, just blow, and that water will push, and certainly it's going to stir up the side of the direction it's going, but also the side it's pulling away from, it'll do that. And then when it levels back out, when that wind stops, it can really, mess up an area.
We took a boat, and this is the #1 highlight of the day so far. That's a shocker. Jimmy Horton scoring big time. How about an 8-pounder in the first hour and 15 minutes?
8-pounder to start today, yesterday, and another 8-pounder today. What a way to start.
Oh my gosh. Biggest fish of the year for our beloved Bassmaster Live, I'll tell you that for sure. Look at Jesse Tactorati moving up there. 21 pounds, 4 fish in the first hour and 10 minutes of fishing. We got some fireworks going on the Big O for sure. A lot more Bassmaster Live on the way. We're going to take ourselves a quick little break. We'll be right back with you.
Continually proven on the tournament trail, and with Skeeter owners everywhere, with 14 consecutive NMMA CSI Consumer Satisfaction Awards. Our competition doesn't even come close. Right now, buy, save, fish with up to $1,500 in instant rebates through March 31st, including the newly redesigned limited edition FX series. Now is the best time to buy, save, fish. Skeeter.
Fishing fans, make plans to be at the 2017 Geico Bassmaster Classic, presented by Dick's Sporting Goods, March 24th through the 26th in Houston, Texas. See 52 of the world's best anglers weigh in their catch from Lake Conroe at Minute Maid Park, home of the Houston Astros. A weigh-in show like never before, and one you've got to see in person. Check out the biggest outdoors expo in B.A.S.S history, featuring the latest in fishing gear, giveaways, and more. Fun for the whole family, and all events are free. Join us in Houston for the Geico Bassmaster Classic and be a part of the most exciting 3 days in fishing, period.
Is there a place where the underwater images are the clearest you've ever seen? We're seeing every fish, we're seeing every detail of structure, and where every bottom contour was visible, where whatever you wanted to see below the surface was real. Do you want to go? Structure Scan 3D is the future of fishing. We can show you how to find fish faster and catch fish in a way you've never experienced. Let's get them.
If you love bass fishing, then show your support by joining B.A.S.S today. Since 1968, B.A.S.S has been serving bass fishing enthusiasts with information and tournament coverage that make you a better angler. When you sign up today, you'll join over 500,000 outdoorsmen who love bass fishing. With your membership, you'll receive every issue of Bassmaster magazine, plus $50 in free gear, including a membership tackle bag, B.A.S.S cap, plus more. Log on to Bassmaster.com to join Bass today.
Oh, yeah! Awesome. Awesome. Yes. Woo!
It's a big one. Giant. Boom! Dude, and I just got a hook in my hand. Look here. That's bad. Don't tell me, just do it. Just like that. I got it. That's a big one, big one. Oh my gosh. Yeah. Oh, that makes me happy right there. That's a big one. Woo! What's going on here, man? What's up with that? Yes. Yes. Come on, give me some, baby. Give me some. Yes. Those are the kind we need. Yeah. Nice. Yes, sir. He's got it. Big one, big one. Yes. Yes. Yeah. Yes. Yeah, boys. Oh, stay on there. Yeah.
That's what we after right there, boys.
31 pounds, 7 ounces. The legendary Mr. Rick Clun knocks the lights out. Ricky Clun gets it done. From Lake Wiley, South Carolina, Britt Meyer. 5 pounds, 13 ounces. Britt Meyer smashes him in front of his hometown crowd. Your champion, ladies and gentlemen. Let me hear it for Randall Thurm. 16 pounds and 2 ounces. The Honey Badger hammers him on Championship Sunday. Get loud for Takahiro Amore. 16 pounds, 10 ounces. Takahiro Amore, your champion from Kalamazoo, Michigan. KVD, Kevin Van Dam. 21 pounds, 6 ounces. KVD gets it done with win number 21. The Hack Attack whacks him on Championship Sunday. Your champion, Greg Hackney. 12 pounds, 10 ounces. KVD gets it done. 19 pounds, 13 ounces. Justin Lucas lays the lugger to the Potomac River. 12 pounds and an ounce. Defoe is an Elite Series champion. Toyota Bassmaster Angler of the Year. The G-Man gets it done and finishes in spot number
1. Is this being in the moment? Is this hanging out? And is this really playing with your kid? Don't stop what you're doing to capture what you're doing. Keep running, keep playing, keep dancing. Just keep doing.
GoPro, start recording.
The competition is fierce and the prizes are huge. The only thing missing is you. Fantasy Fishing presented by Toyota. Sign up for free and face fans from across the nation. Grand prize winner receives a Triton Yamaha package including a Triton 189 TRX. MSRP of $37,293. The classic and each individual elite event winner will receive $2,500 Bass Pro Shops gift cards, with the runner-up receiving a GoPro Hero 4 black camera. Sign up and pick your team today at Bassmasterfantasy.com.
Champions aren't born, they're created. Every turn of the prop, every mile on the lake, every cast of the rod, every fish they catch, and every pound they weigh. It builds who they are. It builds a legacy.
Now for your 2016 Bassmaster Angler of the Year.
Think you could win valuable prizes from Bassmaster? You can't know unless you enter, and entering is easy. Go to Bassmaster.com. Enter now for a chance to win a fishing trip with 2016 Toyota Bassmaster Angler of the Year Gerald Swindle. Trip includes airfare, rental car, hotel, and $500 cash, plus a Triton 17 TX Bass Boat, Mercury engine, and Gerald's gear from Humminbird, Minn Kota, GoPro, and more. You, the winner of a valuable prize, could be. All you have to do to get your shot is go to Bassmaster.com and enter today and every day. Hey, it could be you.
Facts matter. All monofilament is not the same. Berkley is the strongest, smoothest, most dependable monofilament line in the world. Why would you risk your fishing trip to a line that's made who knows where just to save a buck? Berkley has been making and perfecting trilene in America for over 75 years. I spool nothing less than the best. That's Berkley trilene, and that is a fact.
You're watching the Bassmaster Elite at Lake Okeechobee, brought to you live by Hook.
Take a look back at 2012 one more time. That was a fantastic tournament, and Chris Lane made it very, very close. Got it within ounces on day number 3. He did it on a strength of great efforts in key spots like this one right here to get bass like that.
Make up a lot of ground with a fish like that, that's for sure.
Boy, he did. He almost caught Ish Monroe. In fact, they were a statistical tie, just neck and neck going into that final day. Of course, Ish blew the thing wide open on the final day. Chris Lane, nothing to be ashamed of at Okeechobee back in 2012. Yeah, we saw a little bit of that action earlier today. How about our highlight of the day, Timmy Horton? Wow.
Man, the heart's pumping right here. It never gets old. It never gets old. When those 8-pounders are on, they got you wrapped up.
You get up, you can't breathe or talk.
And you hook yourself. I've been there, done that. Love it. Love it.
Man, I set the hook and he can't.
So what's interesting is
Can't be just reading and sitting there fighting.
he's basically doing what Ish Monroe and Chris Lane were doing in 2012. We saw they're both fishing these reeds. Why did they, Ish and Chris only have 9 or 10 pounds yesterday? And if you look back at 2012, I don't think Timmy had a great tournament.
No.
They know what's going on. You've got to find those key little areas within these, the monkey box or the, around Kramer Island or up the King's Bar. The general area, but it's much more difficult than knowing that general area. You've got to figure out the spot within the spot or the pattern within the pattern.
Timmy Horton, we mentioned again, kind of started his day yesterday with a 6 and an 8, so he seems to be on a little bit on that pattern within the pattern, the spot within the spot. I know Steve Wright's done a lot of cracking on the numbers.
Oh, he got some good numbers in here.
2012. Give us some of the highlights of what he came up with.
2012 to yesterday's day one. We had 11 fewer anglers, but we had 103 limits. Only 7 guys missed getting the limit, and the average fish was up from 2.6 pounds to 2.79. The big difference, though, you look at the big bags, and the 12th place difference of 11 or 18-11 back then. It was 19-9 yesterday, but the big one was 25th place. In 2012, it was 14-11 was
25th place.
25th place, and 17-3 yesterday. So there's a lot more big bags yesterday.
That's impressive.
It's also got to feel good for Timmy Horton to catch an 8-pounder, his first fish on day 2, and know he's already got $10,000 just because of his day 1 and catching a fish that big on day 2.
Well, it took about a 27-pound average for Ish Monroe to get to 108. I'm saying the Century Belt's not out off the table yet. Would any of you guys say that?
It's hard to bet against that, the way they're catching these big fish. But I've got to stick with what I've said all week. It's not going to crack that century mark.
Not going to crack the century mark. Well, I've always got an excuse, and that's ignorance. So I feel fine just throwing that stuff out there.
I was going to say I do reserve the right to change my opinion.
Okay, well that changes everything then.
Coming into this event, Davey, did you think that your pick to win, was it an Ish or a Chris Lane, or did you have somebody else in mind that might not have been one of those guys who did well in 12?
Well, I certainly wouldn't bet against either one of those or Bobby Lane, just because of the history they have in these shallow grass, whether it's Ish in the Cal Delta or the Lanes in Florida. They just, that's what they grew up doing. You're certainly not going to count against those guys. But then you got people just like Timmy Horton. Everybody seems to have forgotten. He won a B.A.S.S event here. Sure, it was 2004. But he knows how to catch them when you find that area. They're just the Bassmaster Elite field is really good from top to bottom. And in my 23 years fishing, there was always the best in the world in that 100 or 108 or 110. But it wasn't from top to bottom that you felt like anybody in this field could win this tournament, and I feel that way now with this bunch. I mean, it's just you just can't, to try to pick a winner. The odds just aren't. It's like you're in Vegas. You don't have 20-1 odds. I mean, it's 100-1. It's really, really tough to pick one guy because all these guys are capable.
Talk about your pick, Ronnie Moore. Russ Lane. What happened to Russ Lane?
Well, Russ, I didn't know this, but Wednesday, Facebook Live, Clint Davis was with Russ Lane. Russ Lane has the flu this week, all week. Russ Lane had the flu, but he did say at stage yesterday he caught like 9 or 10 pounds, that this was his first day, he didn't catch a big bite. So if he caught a big bag today, I wouldn't be surprised at all. But did go out on a limb there.
Yeah. Sometimes they say beware the guy with the flu.
Dave,
beware the sick guy. He's got no distractions. He only has the strength to concentrate on one thing.
I'm going to be aware of him, so I try not to catch the flu. That's the main reason.
That's right. That too.
Davey, you did mention to watch out for Randall Tharp this week.
Yep. How's he doing today?
He's got a small limit. 8 pounds. He's climbing up. Small limit, 8 pounds.
You know, the reason I said that, Randall's obviously a really good fisherman, but he spent quite a bit of time here. You know, he's from Alabama, but he and his wife, you know, they travel, and you know, he has spent months down at Lake Okeechobee in the winter, which, heck, who wouldn't like to do that?
Oh, gosh,
if you love to catch big bass and you love pretty weather. But he just got a lot of experience here in this lake, and I certainly wouldn't count him out. But he sounds like he's kind of going through what Ott's going through today. Catching fish, lots of fish, but, you know, 8 pounds. And then you need that 8-pounder, not
no
5.
Kid. Yeah, no, that's right.
And what do you do different? Obviously, yesterday he did everything right, but the game changer, like I mentioned earlier, about catching all these small males and then later in the day catch those females, that's the guys that's going to have the upper 20 and 30-pound stringers, because those females moved on in and set up in this cover around these males. If they're still sitting out there suspended, you're not very likely to catch them. And you just keep catching males all day long. That's exactly what happened to me in 2012. I caught spraying males more and all day long the second day than I did the first day, and the females never moved in and set up. And, you know, in the Bassmaster Elite Tournament Trail, you cut after 2 days. And, you know, if you could have been there that third day, you may have caught 30 pounds, but you're headed home.
Yeah.
Catch it big or go home.
We think of an elite event as 4 days. It's only 4 days for the fortunate.
Exactly.
And the expert. And they're all experts, of course. But so what are the things that keep those females out there unexpectedly? Why would they come up one day, not come up the next day?
Well, you know, I can't give you a definitive answer on that. I can give you what
we can
things,
speculate.
Factors for sure. You know, those eggs developing. You know, I think the sun really speeds up the process more so than cloudy days. The temperature at night, if the water temperature drops down a little bit, you know, and it's inevitable. It's going to happen. But like I say, for half of this field, you got 2 days to make it happen. Yeah. You know, and for different reasons. And the wind direction pushing, you know, I saw on some blogs yesterday about Jason Christie saying the water temperature changed. What was it, Ronnie? So 8 degrees or so. Christie said that the water temperature had dropped.
Yeah.
And I don't think it dropped nearly like that to some other guys. So your area, if the water temperature goes down versus another, and that's there again, you don't think about current when you think about Lake Okeechobee, this big old bowl, but current definitely makes that happen. So certainly I think it's current, water temperature, which is directly related to the current, the sun, the clouds, the moon
wind
phase,
exposure, all of that.
All of those things. That's why we can't go and take one rod and reel and only one bait, because of all those factors that play in what we do.
I don't think our unofficial leaderboard there is reflecting Timmy Horton. Maybe it is. I don't know. No, it's not. It's not reflecting that big bass that we saw a little while ago. So,
with what he had yesterday,
no, he'd be third.
He'd be third. Okay. Stephen Browning holding in second place. Yeah, on the string, one good one in his box. He has one in his box of his 5 that he thinks is going to make the cut, or of his 4, I should say. No Zona today. That's one of our comments. Of course, that's the elephant in the room here. Where's Mark Zona? I mean, he's like Mr. Bassmaster Live. Well, you know, even Mr. Bassmaster Live has other business to take care of, and we'll get into that a little bit later. I think everyone will be a little surprised and impressed, I may say as well. Bass Live, boom, Timmy with a hog. Yes, I'm 100% down with that. No Z-Train. What? Okay. Understood. Okay. Davey can answer that one. What colors of vibrating jigs are they throwing?
They're throwing, the only two colors I've seen so far are the two colors that I would have guessed, even had I not seen them, green pumpkin and black blue. Black blue, when you're in Florida, any tannic water, that dark, that tea-colored water, even the clear water, there at Lake Okeechobee is black, and black blue is a color you're going to always have tied on when you go to any body of water, Louisiana to Okeechobee or wherever. It's just a great, great color. And then obviously green pumpkin is probably the number one color in fishing right now. It's just such a good bluegill imitating type color bait fish. So.
Well, our time for Triton on the line, and everyone's wondering, where is Mark Zona? Didn't take. Oh, there he is, right there. A youthful Mark Zona. That is a great look right there. Holy cow! I've not seen that photo before. Z-Train on the line. Where are you, man? We're missing you.
Tommy, I'm not going to lie. It's a bittersweet day today. I've been trying to pop in, and I got to actually see Timmy's fish catch this morning. But Tommy, I think it's really quick, and I know you and Davey Mercer and Mike McInnes know this. Look, I do. I have a very, very big karate event this weekend, right. The Mishawaka Invitational. But I think it's time to really let the elephant out of the room that Karen Zona and myself are welcoming our third child into the world, Harrison Alexander, hopefully by the end of the weekend.
What? Say that again.
I know.
What?
We are having our third child this weekend. I'm going to try to get hopefully some pics. We're expected sometime today, tomorrow. So you know how that whole thing works.
Sure.
But look, the whole karate thing, I don't know if it's going to go down because I honestly think Harrison Alexander, #so blessed, so thankful. Here's the thing, there's a part 2 to this. If he does arrive this weekend, I'll be at the Classic, but I am asking for that, I don't know, what do you get, that, like, postpartum depression where you don't come into work for like 3 or 4 months?
We fully understand. We can't even process that yet, but we definitely, that's like a new bombshell revelation for us here. But back to the karate. Is it the Michiana Regional, or what did you call it? The Mishawaka Invitational. We have footage from that.
Tommy,
can we take?
It's
Yes.
the Mishawaka Invitational.
Mishawaka.
I don't know. Maybe we can try to get that right. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
It's just a stressful time in my life.
I understand.
Competing for your yellow belt and having your third child all in the same weekend.
I mean, the progress you've made in your karate career, people don't know this. In just 10 years' time, already a yellow belt. It's just amazing. I think we got some footage. Have we? Let's take a look at the footage right here, Mark Zona. I think this is preparation for the Mishawaka Invitational here. Let's listen. Wow.
Yeah.
That is intense. I've never seen that sort of intensity from you.
Man.
Oh my.
Yeah, I mean, my whole game is intimidation in this whole thing. I've studied under 7 different instructors, and I'm not going to lie, guys, I'm torn to pieces between the arrival of Harrison Alexander or just showing up to that karate event this weekend.
Z, you sounded like you were having the third child just then.
That was great. It was so fantastic.
Thanks.
What is that around your neck? We're trying to figure out what that is in the picture.
It's like the Idol from Brady Bunch in Hawaii. Remember the Idol?
Okay. I got it. Now,
real quick, to get back to the tournament. And Davey, I'm going to throw this at you. because I've used it. This is going to sound really strange to some of our viewers. And I've used this example, this comparison, several times with Tommy when we've done studio for Lake Okeechobee events, is how unbelievably similar Lake Okeechobee is to Lake St. Clair. And here's what I mean by that comparison. Everywhere we fish in the country, everywhere we fish, a low pressure, clouds, wind, man, that's when largemouth eat. But there is a parallel. If you look across a map, there is a parallel when you get below, say, Dallas, Texas, all the way to Jacksonville, Seminole, stuff like that, that those Florida strain bass act exactly like a smallmouth, where they want sun, calm, and warm.
Yep.
Does that make sense?
You know, there's Stephen Browning catching another one. He's been doing well all morning, just not having those big ones. But you're saying about the sun and the cloud. You're exactly right. And I think sunny Florida is not named that just because of the oranges and the beaches. I mean, I think those Florida strain bass love the sun and they love the warm, radiant heat. But the other thing is, I think when we come to Lake Okeechobee, it seems like every time there's fish spawning, for two reasons we seem to come here in the spring, but I've seen bass spawn, and I know you have too, Z, in South Florida, particularly on Lake Okeechobee, from October until May. So you have that long period that there's always some fish spawning, and those are the easier fish to catch down there. And I just think those females move up and set up on those nests, on those beds better when you have that sun. The eggs develop and they move along in the spawning process more. When you see guys that caught 30 pounds one day and then the next day they catch 30, but they're all 1 and 2 pounders, those females, they need that sun to push them on up there and set up. And like we mentioned, if it doesn't happen today for half the field, they go home, sun or no sun. That's the only way I can explain it, Z. I mean, nothing about sunny, calm conditions really should trigger those fish to bite, other than they set up where you can get those reaction bites like Timmy is doing, like the guys are doing with the vibrating jigs. They're just getting those reaction bites from those spawners.
And if you really, and I equate all those big bass factories, to from Okeechobee to Falcon Lake. If you notoriously look at our events, for some reason, those high sky, calm days, even on a lake that's so polar opposite, being Falcon, man, them are the days them giants bite.
Yeah. Unlike anywhere in the north.
It's so weird.
Yep. It is.
You've expressed to us before this tournament a little bit your theories about which parts of the lake, well, they're not theories, they're proven facts of which part of the lake play, but finding the patterns, the places within the places. What do you think the key is to that, and why have these guys, the ones we're watching today, been successful at that?
I've watched really close on where these guys are located, and you look at Brent Ehlers, Brett Height, Stephen Browning's cannibalizing each other, which that's what we always see. We always see that, and usually that's a 1 or 2 day, maybe 2.5 day window where they're able to bash each other's head in.
Yep.
Here's the only thing I'm watching Timmy Horton, and that area down there that Timmy Horton has debuted, nailed it. There's always a big bag or two that comes out of that corner of the lake. It's if you can remain consistent, because obviously he kind of has free reign down there. And what's interesting is I got to talk with Davey quite a bit before this tournament, and it's transpired this way: open water anglers against a guy with a flipping stick. And generally, by the end of the event, the guy with the flipping stick in his hand wins this tournament.
Yep. So true. And a lot of people making their predictions, making their fantasy picks based on that very principle right there. Let me ask you the burning question that we've all addressed this morning, Z-Train. Are we going to crack the century mark today? I mean, not today, but by the end of the tournament.
Gosh, I don't see it happening.
Okay.
And I guess, what's weird is I said that the last time we were here. Those guys that get away from the pack are the ones that scare you. Davey, I mean, you've talked about it. The guys that get away, and not generally get away from the pack where they're, off the beaten path. When they break away from those clusters of boats, they're the scary anglers in this tournament every time we're there. Gosh, I'm getting text guys blowing up wondering what time Harrison Alexander is going to show up, and it's a big day in the Zona house.
Yep.
But I really don't think. I'll be honest with you. I listened this morning I don't think we see another 30-pound bag in this tournament. I don't see it.
I agree.
Not to be a buzzkill on that, but I was stunned yesterday when Ott did that, and I just don't. I don't know, but Just Tecaronte is well on his way.
Who?
Just Tecaronte.
Oh yeah. Okay. Got it. Very good. Z-Train, I know we so appreciate your time here. Obviously, you've got pressing things on your mind. Of course, the Mishwaban on regionals and Harrison Alexander. I mean, I can't process it all, but you're going to keep us informed of that. Now, you'll be in touch throughout the weekend, or no?
Absolutely, guys, and I'll keep you well informed. We're definitely up against the clock here trying to get everything done, but it's a big time in Karen's life. It's a very big time. Dave Mercer and Mike McInnes, the producer of Bass Live, they kept this secret. I think Such caught wind of it a while back. It's a big time, but to welcome our third child in the world, we're hashtag so thankful. We're so thankful.
Copy that, Z-Train. Thank you so much. Best of luck to you. Our thoughts are with you. Thank you so much, and we'll talk to you very soon, I hope.
Send Karen our love.
Guys, I love you, and you guys you're killing it today. Way to go.
Tacaronte's out to set him wrong. He just caught a 6-4. He's up to 28-12.
28-12 for Jesse Tacaronte. Nothing trivial about that. That is a massive catch. Here, however, is some Dick Seapack trivia. Davey, I'm going to lay this on you here in the 2012 Okeechobee Elite. How far did the second-place angler on day one fall?
Jeez, I mean, that's straight.
How many places it's been?
Okay, don't give it away, Davey. Davey might know that, but we'll explain all. We'll elaborate when we come back. That's kind of rough. Agreed.
The ARE Truck Caps Bassmaster Elite at Lake Okeechobee is brought to you by Shell Rotella, Yamaha, Triton Boats, Toyota, Power Pole, and by Skeeter Boats.
Man, it's slow today. Yep.
Mom, I caught a fish.
Good job, sweetie.
Hey, what kind of lure is that?
It's a Livingston. They have electronic bait fish sounds that activate as soon as they hit the water. Easiest way to catch a fish.
Hey, thanks.
Think you could win valuable prizes from Bassmaster? You can't know unless you enter, and entering is easy. Go to Bassmaster.com. Enter now for a chance to win a fishing trip with 2016 Toyota Bassmaster Angler of the Year Gerald Swindle. Trip includes airfare, rental car, hotel, and $500 cash. Plus a Triton 17 TX Bass Boat, Mercury engine, and Gerald's gear from Humminbird, Minn Kota, GoPro, and more. You, the winner of a valuable prize? Could be. All you have to do to get your shot is go to Bassmaster.com and enter today and every day. Hey, it could be you.
What is this meeting about again?
Fishing! Took my boat, boom, jumped over it, and I caught a giant. It was like a whale.
29 pounds, baby!
That's the last time I danced on stage.
Wow. Chief Fishing Officer.
How do I get that job?
I don't know. Go to teamgtfishing.com to find out more about my real job.
You're watching the Bassmaster Elite at Lake Okeechobee, brought to you live by Hook.
We really look forward to.
Hey, coming up March 24th through the 26th, there's another elephant in the room. The biggest event in all of fishing, the Bassmaster Classic from Lake Conroe, and the weigh-in's right there. Minute Maid Park, the home of the Houston Astros, formerly the Colt 45's been following that team for decades now, but boy, all the excitement, the pageantry, really on a larger scale than ever before. The biggest stadium we've ever had it in. Minute Maid Park, there will be room for everybody right in the middle of town. You come in on 45 or 59 into downtown Houston, you see it right there. And they got plenty of parking. I mean, it's a well thought out situation right across the street from the George R. Brown Convention Center where the Dick's Sporting Goods Expo is, presented by Dick's Sporting Goods. It's a perfect setup. If you want to attend a classic, this would be a great one, especially in light of the predictions people are making about how they're going to catch them on Lake Conroe. Beautiful, beautiful prospect. I think everybody who's into fishing is anticipating this one in the highest degree, the Lake Conroe Geico Bassmaster Classic from Houston, Texas. Dick CPEC trivia, of course, is what we got on our minds as well. So thankful for that. I know, Davey, you are. How about this question right here in the 2012 Okeechobee Elite? How far did the second place angler on day one fall? Who was that second place angler?
Guys,
it's
I mean,
brutal.
Y'all really showed me so much love on my first day here.
Who came up with that's horrible?
So,
welcome, Davey.
Yeah,
Welcome.
I really, really appreciate this.
Yeah.
Davey Height Day.
Davey Height. How far did Davey Height fall?
I don't think I should be able to answer because I might know the answer.
Do you know it?
I'm not talking to you, Suit.
All right, what's the answer?
For
Let's
other
have it.
people.
24 places. Well, you know, still in it.
Yeah.
Still in it to win it.
You know,
what are you talking
26 is better than 96, but you know, it's why I talked about yesterday. Going to talk about it today, tomorrow, Sunday. This place can be brutal. It can be, you know, we saw Timmy Horton land that 8-pounder. I mean, it can be awesome one day, but it can turn around for you so quick. Here more so than anywhere I fish. You know, doing this with you guys is awesome, but I'm going to talk about 3 things. Whatever the elite anglers tell me that is happening.
Right.
Or what I've seen with my eyes or what I've experienced. And I've experienced the highs and the lows on Lake Okeechobee.
Let's take a look at something that happened just moments ago. Got our eye on Brett Height all morning long. Started this day. Third place rather.
Yo, Cinco.
So a slow morning so far, nothing in the way of first fish. Ron Moore giving us that signal over there for Brett Height, so no numbers, no size.
You know, we talked about Brett a lot because when you come to the shallow vegetation, seems like he's always in the top 5. And that has always been his second punch of his 1-2 punch. Everybody knows about his vibrating jig and how effective he is with it. But last year at Winya Bay, I can name multiple times when things calm down, the wind looks like it's actually calmed down today since earlier this morning. When it calms down, Brett always picks up a Cinco, usually a Texas rig Cinco, and gets those fish to bite that aren't as aggressive. Now that wind laying down is probably the whole reason that he's doing it, and obviously he hadn't caught anything this morning on his vibrating jig. But not only the vibrating jig, but he fishes that Cinco a lot in all these tournaments that he wins or does really well in.
It's interesting to see. Yesterday there was 10 fish unofficially over 5 pounds caught in the first 2 hours. Today only 8, with Tacarante having 3 of those. So 3 for Tacarante, 5 fish over 5 pounds for the rest of the field within the first 2 hours of the day.
Tacarante, your unofficial leader right now. You got anything more on him? You got some background on him?
What's interesting is I covered the 3 Northern Opens last year where he qualified for the Elite Series, and every event he was, I love smallmouth, and he did the worst out of those 3 at the James River all largemouth. That was his worst tournament of the 3, and so I expected him to do better at Cherokee than he did, but definitely being in the Sunshine State where he's from, obviously he's probably spent a lot of time here as well.
One bit of business to clean up from our last half hour there. Just got a text here. Prefaced by this, I'm begging you, if you have any love or compassion, you will do me this one favor. It's from Karen Sona. It says, can you please tell people that I'm not having a baby?
Really?
So, okay.
She's not?
I don't know.
You mean Zona?
There's some alternate facts going around here. Some alternate information. But
I'm telling you,
that's the very latest right there. That's the latest information we have. So
it sounded like Mark's one having the baby. That footage with him getting his yellow belt.
Yeah. No kidding. Hashtag so blessed. We'll stay on top of that story for you.
Yeah, Karen told me those boards are kept there at the Taekwondo place for little kids to break.
What?
I was going to congratulate Karen on her 4th son, if she would have Harrison Alexander today.
Yeah, 4 kids in the house then, yeah.
4 young boys.
Yeah.
On a serious note, Dave, we got a question from Jack on Twitter asking, are there particular things you're looking at the reeds that you'd want to pitch to?
Well, that's always the key. That's a great question. And that's always the key. And to me, that's what separates a guy like a Chris Lane that you know understands how to catch them in Florida and has caught them so many times. But it seems like each year when we go there, obviously this year we've showed earlier that how the vegetation is much different than it was in 2012. But each year that changes, and each year I think there is a key, Timmy just missed one, I think there's a key target to look for and to look at. And I talked to Timmy last night a little bit, and he talked about covering so much water, but then he also talked about catching a fish, and you watch him here, pitching a bait in and moving that bait up 4, 5, 6 times in one spot. So how do you cover water and leave a bait in a spot for that long? The only way you can do it is you've got to figure out the one little key to one of those clumps, whether it's a little bit of hyacinth mat blowed up against it, which is often a key, or some eelgrass close by, maybe a hole in the grass, you can see a light spot close by. But when you figure that out, when you see that, then you can actually fish fast although you're flipping. And you can let your bait stay in one spot for an extended amount of time because you're skipping all this other stuff that looks the same to guys that hasn't figured that out. Mm. But when I've had my best flipping tournaments, whether it's vegetation, wood, whatever the target is, I might make 100 flips and then all of a sudden I see the right thing and I know that's the flip I need to make. But you're not going to just stand there with your rod in your hand. You're going to flip. But when you get dialed in like Timmy obviously is, he's the only one we've been seeing with a flipping stick in his hand, catching 8-pounders every day. When you get dialed in, when you see the right thing, you know it. Now, how do you figure that out? The best way is to get that first big bite and stop and analyze what is here, what is different. There's 10 million reeds on Lake Okeechobee. Why was that 8-pounder there? There's a reason, and when and if you can figure that out, you'll catch more.
If you
well,
can figure
oftentimes
that,
you can't.
Yeah.
And you certainly can if you don't get that first bite.
So once you do figure it out, you're 10 times more efficient with
yeah.
your time.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Because we all know Florida is notorious for fishing slow. But you've got to narrow it down so you can fish slow in the exact right target.
The example is like the backside of the wind of,
Yeah, I mean, it could be multiple things. The front side, sometimes it's the up current side or the down current side. Like we mentioned, there is current on Lake Okeechobee. And those reeds offshore, they've got current flowing by them. Sometimes they want their face in the current, sometimes out. But it's usually much more complicated than that. But that's why, like I said, you've got Timmy Horton was just as good a fisherman in 2012 as he is now, as he was in 2004 when he won there. But he's figured out the key to look for. Yeah. And it looks like, unfortunately, that Chris Lane has it this year. Not that he won't before the end of this day. You never count Chris Lane out. But that is the whole key. How you can cover water and fish fast in Florida, but still you're really fishing slow.
Got some more Triton on the line. That's a treat for us today, getting Mark Zona phoning in here. But let's take a look at this next one. Special guest, special look there. Man, you talk about pure Florida. No one says Florida like Dave Mercer at the helm. Well, not at the helm, but in the bow of the airboat there. Dave, looking good, looking debonair. What's about to happen here?
Oh, what is about to happen? I mean, I'm styling and profiling. As you can see here, we're with Captain Troy right behind us, Eagle Bay Airboat Rides. And I mean, you come to Florida, I mean, you need to go for an airboat ride. And this bad boy, let's have a look. Captain Troy here. Captain Troy, how much horsepower are we talking about?
We're looking at about 450 horsepower on the back of this thing.
Now, Captain Troy, when we booked you, we asked for the number one captain. Are you the number one captain?
I'd say so, yes, sir, definitely, by all means.
And what are we going to see here today on an average airboat ride? What does your day consist of?
A few gators. We'll stop, talk about some stuff in the swamp, some plants, stuff like that, educate people a little bit.
There is an incredible, I don't think there's a lake in the country that has more aquatic vegetation than Lake Okeechobee. I mean, there's so many different types of weeds here, and that's what makes it such an incredible, ecosystem. What is the craziest thing you've seen here in an airboat ride, apart from my ensemble today?
It would be hard to say. There's so many different things. Every trip's different. No two trips are alike. It's hard to say. I mean, I've seen big bull gators fighting right up here. We sit there for the whole 45-minute trip and watch them bull gators fight during mating season. So there's so many variables out here.
If we see a gator, will you ride the gator for us, all our viewers watching around the world?
No, I'm going to put this wild man right here on you, boys and girls.
I have no belief that is going to happen. Now, Captain Troy, how far out do we need to go to get going, or can we get going here shortly?
We're going to get going. I want to take you up through here and see if we can't find a couple gators to look at.
All right, we are going to go. We'll see if we can keep this live signal, guys. But 450 horsepower on this bad boy, and we are going running. I can't wait to feel my hair blowing in the wind. Drop the hammer there, Captain Troy. Take me to Big Mama. This is absolutely awesome. All this impenetrable water in a bass boat. You come out here in an airboat and it's a whole different deal. And hundreds of miles of impenetrable water obviously is no match for this 450 horsepower Airboat, and these things are all over this lake. And a lot of times to bass fishermen, they can look as a menace because they make a lot of noise, but they get you to areas that you can never get to in a bass boat. And I think that was pretty awesome. I mean, you do not have to wear this life vest. Captain Troy told me only if you're 12 years old and under. But right now, 6 years old and under. But right now, I mean, I mentally started at about 4, but right now I feel like a 6-year-old because this is the coolest day ever.
That's a sweet, sweet life vest, I got to say.
I thought we'd fast forward to 6 years, and that was Harrison Alexander.
Maybe that's no. We're not supposed to go there anymore. We've been warned about going in there. Davey, or Dave Mercer, your look today, the do-rag, the sunglasses, I can't quite place it, but brother, it looks very, very familiar to me, brother, in some way or another. What are you going for there?
Well, this is the finest ensemble that you can buy for $9 here in Okeechobee, Florida. I think I spent a whole $6 on the goggles and $2 for the do-rag, but I think it looks spectacular. I mean, it might have cost $9, but it's the look that keeps on giving. I mean, Troy loves it. And I guess Troy's decided we're going to move now. Guys, speaking of moving, one of the big movers today, and I'm sure you've talked about it, Jesse Tecarante, his second Elite Series event here in his home state of Florida, and having an awesome morning.
Look at Dave. Look at man. You know they'll go over these smaller islands. You know they'll go up on. I hope Captain Troy will take Dave up on some land for a little while because that's when you really get the full benefit of the big time 450 horsepower airboat right there. But look at that. Moving through the pad fields. Pads, we saw some pads playing in some of the shots from the anglers yesterday. Haven't seen any of our top 4 there. Dave, have you seen anything good yet? Have you seen any place you're going to come back to and hammer them a little bit later, maybe next week or something?
I mean, I'd like to do it right now, but I think I'd break some sort of rule. But what we're doing right now is this is your basic trip through here. You can come down and take one of these airboat rides, and they see gators all the time down here, and I'm sure that's going to get a lot more as the day goes on here. But there is some incredible. Do you ever fish off this boat, Troy?
Once in a while, on a day off, I'll take my little nephews out there and we'll fish in a rim ditch that goes around the lake itself.
Is the fishing a lot better on area? Is there areas you can get to on an airboat that a bass boat has no shot of getting to?
Oh yes, sir. Yes, sir. The airboat can go pretty much anywhere you got water and a little bit of foliage and stuff. Like you can get up in there where the pockets are. Where the bass really are.
So you have some hidden sneaky stuff.
I can't tell you all my secrets. That'd be no.
How much do we? Okay, let me see. I've got money here. I got money. Okay, I am a high-priced, well-paid talent. I'll give you whatever's in this wallet right here.
What you spend at Walmart?
I have $1. I have $1 left. I had 10, spent 9 on it, and I'll give you $1. Is there sneaky spots you can bring us to?
Well, yeah, I can put you on a couple good spots.
Well, let's go experience that right now and continue to drive around this labyrinth of aquatic vegetation. I'm going to ask you a question that amazes me.
Yes, sir.
Have you ever, we come to Lake Okeechobee for Bassmaster events all the time, and it is one of the biggest lakes in the country. But it amazes me because the middle of the lake seems like another planet. You never see anybody fishing out there in a bass tournament or anyone winning a bass tournament. Is there anything out there, or does it just get too rough, or what's the deal?
Well, I think on a calm day you can get out there and stuff like that. I think there's fish anywhere in the lake when you get right down to it. But as far as fishing, catching the big boys, a lot of people tell me, my buddies down at Fast Break, they say that fishing up in the weeds is where the big bass really are.
They definitely are, and our leader right now, Jesse Tecarante, unofficially leading this event, started off with a big day, but the question is, Ottifo slipped a little bit to second place, and we'll have to see how this all works out. Yesterday in the tournament, it definitely was some of the bigger bites came in the afternoon, and you would expect that here. You'd expect some of the guys to do kind of an extended damage with that shad spawn, which was extended a little bit today because of the fog and that sort of thing, but as the sun continues to rise, I imagine you're going to see some of those bigger bites later on this afternoon.
Dave, would you ask Captain Troy one thing for me? And Captain Troy, by the way, sounds like a guy from a military background. He sounds like one of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, when he talks right there. Impressive person. What's the ultimate thing you should not do? What's the biggest no-no, the biggest mistake you can make in an airboat?
Troy, Tommy Sanders, the studio, wants to know, what is the biggest mistake you can make in an airboat? What is the absolute no-no?
Go around every curve as if there's something coming no matter what. Always be prepared for something, look out. Pretend every situation is a potential hazard, and that way you're ready for it when it comes, because safety is the number one goal here at Eagle Bay Airboat Rides.
Troy, can I ask you a can I drive?
Well, I don't know about all that.
Is that a polite way of saying no way?
Well, we could do that. We'd probably have to get you some open water and talk to my boss, but yeah, we could do something maybe. I don't know.
I wouldn't do it if I were you, Troy.
Okay, we'll let that one go.
You're crazy, but we're going to continue flying around here.
Dave, stay after it. We want
this incredible
keep after it.
ride.
Don't drop that. We want to see you drive. We want to see you drive in that airboat the next time we see you. So don't drop that. I mean, you'd love it. We want to see you drive it up on dry land, because you know those things can go on dry land a little ways as well, too. Dave Mercer, thanks so much. All right, thank you, Dave.
I'm driving it back to the hotel.
Okay, take it back to the hotel. That is our Triton on the line with Dave Mercer. Fantastic. Captain Troy as well. Very impressive figure. I think he found the right guy.
Yeah. Hulk Hogan and Captain.
Hulk Hogan. Oh, congrats on Harrison Alexander Zona. Okay. We're not supposed to talk about that, but Karen said no.
No.
May he fish like his father talks. I like that, though. Hashtag so thankful.
One thing that I notice about Timmy, it seems to be, we were talking, Sue, about finding the right, what's the difference in guys catching and doing this and others? There's laid down, it seems like he's not just fishing reeds, but it's like there's a canopy over everywhere I've seen him flip. Not the ones that are stand up straight. He just left a little clump that had some laying down, and here so there's a mat that's created by these reeds along with the reeds. It looks like one of the things he's looking for.
Davey, one thing I thought was interesting was how the wind wasn't really an impact yesterday, and it wasn't supposed to be that bad today, but him being on the south, the southeast side, looks like it's blown in there pretty decent. That, it eventually is time, maybe not right now, but in a couple hours it could mess this water up.
It could, but for where he's at and that wind coming from the direction it's coming from, that's good right there, because it gets a lot worse than that. That's why that place usually doesn't hold up for 4 days. But for there, with the it's coming all the way across the lake. He's fortunate right now. If it stays like that for the next few days, he could win this tournament over there. But there's guys, when you have a guy in the lead or the top couple places, it's unethical to move in on them, but it's also acceptable at Lake Okeechobee that guys are going to rotate from Monkey Box, Harney Pond, South Bay, Moonshine. There's about 5 or 6 places that guys that fish multiple day tournaments here, you're going to run those places.
Yeah.
Depending on the wind.
It's like a carousel. Yeah. They're just going to swap places and swap out.
So Timmy, like even if guys do come around, I don't think he's going to have the crowd around him like we saw over on the North Shore. But it wouldn't be, in my opinion, wrong if you see another boat or two around him later in the day or tomorrow, or because those guys are going to rotate those popular places along, depending on the wind.
You look at those unofficial standings right now, Takarani with an 8-pound lead over Timmy Horton, but that's kind of, Takarani's had a limit for a while. Timmy Horton still one fish, a single fish, so he's got all the headroom in the world. There's our guy with the fish there. That's the big fish.
And he's got a lot of experience. Obviously, he lives in Orlando. He's got a lot of experience. He fished the Opens when I fished him 6 or 7 years ago. I mean, he's a rookie. It's every rookie we have on Elite Tournament Trail. They're not rookies. They're not rookies. Yeah, he's certainly an experienced Florida fisherman.
He's the owner of the rod company here, sponsored by the owner.
He's a 50-year-old rookie.
Yeah. You made a great point, Tommy. Timmy only having one fish, it looks like, Tacarande is taking the lead and Timmy, and Ott.
yeah.
But those guys, when you're sitting, when you've got 28-12 like he has, sure, he can go to 35. It's been done here on Lake Okeechobee, but he's almost at the top of the mountain.
He's about topped out, yeah.
And you want to be there, but it's early in the day. These guys, they, with one fishing line, well, his second fish yesterday was a 6-pounder, so,
Two just Midland big ones for him. Gets him right up
Yeah.
there with Tacarani.
He just called it 29-4.
29-4, okay.
And there again, it's hard, those culls.
Oh.
He probably threw one back that not bigger than Timmy, but bigger than anything that B. Hyde has in live well so far, But it's hard to gain ground when you get up there, at 30 pounds.
Jesse Tacarani's going to count as a legit rookie. They have a formula, financial formula, how much money you've won here, there, and everywhere before you go on to the Elite Series. But and some are disqualified. But Jesse Tacarani is, as it stands, coming into after day number 1, Jesse Tacarani in 50. The points 53rd. He's 10th place in Rookie of the Year, Bassmaster Elite Series Rookie of the Year. Skylar Hamilton, one of the 2 Tennessee guys in our top 10 here at Okeechobee. So. The rookie's playing very well here. Dave Mercer, no longer a rookie at Airboat stuff. What we've seen so far, a lot of Stephen Browning. Stephen Browning with 2 good ones. 2 good ones he thinks might make the cut in his boat. 3 he's got to get rid of. A lot of good fish catching, and Timmy Horton with the big one of the day. Getting down for a little bit of a wrestling match, and he comes out on top. Big 8-pounder coming into the boat. Timmy Horton, a lot more on the way. Bassmaster Live.
Continually proven on the tournament trail and with Skeeter owners everywhere with 14 consecutive NMMA CSI Consumer Satisfaction Awards. Our competition doesn't even come close. Right now, buy, save, fish with up to $1,500 in instant rebates through March 31st, including the newly redesigned limited edition FX series. Now is the best time to buy, save, fish. Skeeter.
Is there a place where the underwater images are the clearest you've ever seen? We're seeing every fish, we're seeing every detail of structure, and where every bottom contour was visible, where whatever you wanted to see below the surface was real. Do you want to go? Structure Scan 3D is the future of fishing. We can show you how to find fish faster and catch fish in a way you've never experienced. Let's get them.
Is this being in the moment? Is this hanging out? And is this really playing with your kid? Don't stop what you're doing to capture what you're doing. Keep running, keep playing, keep dancing. Just keep doing.
GoPro, start recording.
Champions aren't born, they're created. Every turn of the prop, every mile on the lake, every cast of the rod, every fish they catch, and every pound they weigh. It builds who they are. It builds a legacy.
Now for your 2016 Bassmaster Angler of the Year.
Facts matter. All monofilament is not the same. Berkley is the strongest, smoothest, most dependable monofilament line in the world. Why would you risk your fishing trip to a line that's made who knows where just to save a buck? Berkley has been making and perfecting trilene in America for over 75 years. I spool nothing less than the best. That's Berkley trilene, and that is a fact.
You're watching the Bassmaster Elite at Lake Okeechobee, brought to you live by Hook.
Bassmaster Live, got about 30 minutes here before we take our midday break here. Keep reminding you because it's coming up so fast. March 24th and 26th, that's a month away. Geico Bassmaster Classic, Houston, Texas. And how about the Geico Bassmaster Classic Expo presented by Dick's Sporting Goods? Be bigger than ever, be the biggest haul ever for the Expo. The George R. Brown Convention Center is massive, cavernous place here in Houston, Texas, right across the street from Minute Maid Park. So it's a perfect setup for one of the greatest sports shows that you'll ever see anywhere. So much variety and everything that's new in the world of bass fishing. You'll get to scope it out in person. We'll try to give you as much. If you can't make it to the Classic, we'll give you as much as we can on Bass Live. Davey will be there. Mark Zone will be there. I'll be there. Humminbird Lay of the Lake. We took a look at it early this morning. This is the view from Dave Mercer in the front of Captain Troy's Airboat. You can see what it looks like. Acres and acres, 750 square miles of Lake Okeechobee. Check that, 730. Half the size of the state of Rhode Island, the biggest inland freshwater lake, totally within the boundaries of the United States. A unique place and a unique problem to solve for all these guys, and as always happens with the Bassmaster Elite Series, we got some guys who solve it in a big way. Big fish on the board early on this day, and Davey, you look at all this, it all looks great. I mean, it looks like the Red River. Everything looks perfect.
Yeah,
right?
Even more so, I think. They don't call it the Big O for nothing. Just everywhere you look, looks like where a 10-pound bass should live. And certainly not the case. And that's why it's such a challenge when you come down to Lake Okeechobee. 2.5 days of practice. I can't emphasize enough how that seems like a long time for guys that haven't fished the elite trail, but when you go to a body of water as big as Lake Okeechobee and you try to dissect it all in 2.5 days, it's just not enough time. The key areas that seem year in and year out are places that these guys are set up. Octofoes up on that north end around Kings Bar, traditionally a good area to catch big fish. The most popular area, in my opinion, on Lake Okeechobee, North Shore, Harney Pond, Monkey Box, all in the area right here with Stephen Brown and Brett Hite. The thing that worries me is these guys are going to beat the fish up too much with the other fishermen.
This is moments ago, Stephen Browning.
Old sun coming out. There he is, big one too. I mean a big one. Told you. Nope, not that big, but he's a good one. Get up in here. Golly, I thought it was a good one. Let me get it here. It gets cold right quick. Let me put these down. Golly, I thought that was a big one. I know I've got a little bitty one in here. That'll help out. Quit all that. Quit. Quit. Oh, come back here. I'm pretty sure I got a little one in it. Quit all that. Get down in there, you jackwagon. That's a good one. There you go. Come here. Yeah. How many cold tags we got? It's a toss-up. Go that way. Hole number one is the one that needs to go back.
Good bit of attention paid to the culling process, which can certainly pay a dividend
it
at the end of
seems
4 days of fishing. You don't want to let up on that.
You caught 2 or 3 yesterday, 2 per se, when the big one started biting. The little one pretty basically bit all day. I mean, there was just a couple of times that throughout the course of the day where I didn't get a, one every 10 minutes or so. But I think the big key is being in the right spot at the right time when those better quality ones want to bite, because you'll have an opportunity at maybe catching a couple of them pretty quick. Let me catch one out there for J.O. Right at you, baby. You're one big bite away, like a 10-pounder, away from 20 pounds. That's not a bad feeling. We really need a couple of big ones, a couple of 6-pound plus fish. I don't catch a lot of 10-pounders out of here. I mean, if you look at all these people out here fishing today, I bet it may not even be a 10-pounder caught unless it's from me. But I mean, but there'd be just a pile of 5 to 6, 7-pound fish. And that's kind of the bite that you have to have.
Brownie,
you gotta
maybe.
get those 5s and 6s to get your weight up there where it needs to be. Yeah, got a little breeze going, a little sunshine coming out.
I was going to say Browning may be wrong about the 10-pounder. Blog just came in with Dean Rojas, and the marshal wrote he's in the 10-pound club.
Wow.
It's a big fish. It's going to be in the blog real soon.
No pic. Oh, coming. Yeah. It's coming. Okay.
It just popped in on the email.
Tim Horton with a little move. Got a good look at those gloves, Tim Horton. The Captain America gloves makes me feel sort of insignificant here. I need a pair of those.
Did he wear those at Cherokee? Did you notice?
I didn't. I did
He may
not
have
notice.
changed his luck here.
Yeah, it could be. That may be a holdover from Cherokee.
Sun's starting to come out. You can see the blue in the background, a couple of those guys. Browning and Height over on that North Shore. I really think it'll help us see a few more of those big fish. May have already caught one, a 10-pounder. Such, get us a picture here in a minute. Sounds like.
Now you were
Rojas.
close, Davey. You mentioned 9.5 would be the big bass, and right now we got 9.2, but Rojas may have eclipsed that.
Yeah, I think his co-angler, his marshal, might be big-eyeing him a little bit. 9.5 is the number.
Yeah. He's thinking back to 2000 or something like that. He's like time traveling here.
That's right. Oh, that certainly could be a 10-pounder. But Stephen was right. 10-pound bass are just not easy to come by, no matter where you are. I mean, the Big O is certainly a place that you can catch one, but they're like 180-inch deer.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, they're trophies for a reason. They aren't a dime a dozen. Game changers in the Bassmaster tournament for sure. I was fortunate enough to catch 2 11s in my career in a Bassmaster tournaments. Game changers.
Which 2 tournaments was that?
That's good trivia, Such. Do you know? I'll go ahead and give you the answer.
No, not right off the hand. No, give us the answer.
Clear Lake in California.
Okay.
And Falcon Lake.
Falcon, I was going to say, would have to be the other one.
11-1 and an 11-2. Woo. Boy, it makes you smile when you slide those 11s into live well.
That's right.
If you're looking at Bass Track, you've seen Jason Williamson jump into the top 5. He's the only consistent angler right now. He had 17.5 pounds yesterday and also another 17.5 today. He's in that same region that you were talking about, Davey. It looks like the Harney Pond, Monkey Box area. He's right around there in the mix.
A lot of good fishermen right in there, and this is a fish factory, but you get that many good fishermen, they can really they'll beat up one another. They really will.
Clean it out a little bit.
Yeah.
Even given the giant numbers of fish in this this lake here.
This lake is one of the few that might be able to replenish day after day.
If conditions are just perfect.
Yeah, if they're
it.
perfect.
Yeah.
You're exactly right, Tommy. Yeah.
I'm marking on the hidden Bass Track map. Obviously, the public can't see that until Sunday, but I can see the map now. And unofficially, there are 7 to 8 guys in the top 12 right now that are all like right there beside each other in that area. So, like you said, they might be picking apart the couple big ones that are biting.
That's really no surprise. I would have guessed that coming in. The place just, it's keeps pumping them out year in and year out.
Well, you mentioned one of the first things at the top of the program is you got to have some other places to go to.
Yeah.
You said that's how Ish did it.
Yeah.
And you, as far as I can tell, you're saying the guy who wins this is going to have more than one great spot.
Absolutely. And I'm not going to bet against Stephen Browning or Brett Height because they are both tremendous fishermen and they're both really good at what they're throwing, what they're chunking and winding. They're in their wheelhouse. But you see Ott Defoe up there with not many people around. You see Timmy Horton, not many people around. If I was a betting man, those guys, they've just got better odds because their fish aren't getting beat up. Okay, cool.
Cameraman Eric Kafka sending a little note in the Brett Height throwing that bladed jig all morning long with nothing. That first fish came on a Cinco. So sometimes you just got to mix it up a little bit.
Yeah, like I mentioned, that's always been his. It's not talked about a lot, but his 1-2 punch is he usually catches a few key fish in these tournaments. I think he did in his tour event that he won down here a couple years ago.
Mm-hmm.
Catches a few key fish on the Cinco when the wind lays down like it's doing now, or has done since earlier.
Yeah, Brett Height joined the Elite Series in 2014, won on Seminole down there with his bladed jig and an occasional Cinco. Talk about that Dean Rojas rumored 10-pounder.
Wow.
Take a look. What do you think?
Davey?
Huh?
That looks 9.5 if it's an ounce.
All right. There we go.
Yeah.
What did I pick was going to be big fish?
9.5.
Oh.
No, that does look like a 10. He's got his arms stretched out there.
I'm telling you what. Give us another view. Come on, Dean.
It's a great fish, that's for
Boy,
sure.
no
He's
doubt.
all smiles there. I would be too.
Didn't have a bad day yesterday.
As Marshall said, 4 more of those and he beat his own record.
It did
Could
have
well be true.
Worth noting that it did look like a punch skirt in that fish's mouth. You couldn't see the tungsten hanging down, but it looked like he was flipping, rather than sight fishing or throwing a moving bait.
A swing and a miss there for Stephen Browning.
You mentioned the punch skirt. That's something that's interesting here at Okeechobee and other places in the South. These guys flipping, and Timmy looks like he's flipping a fairly small bait. But when the water temperature, and we have these cold front, these Florida strain bass, they get so lethargic, and they won't bite anything but a shiner.
Yeah.
And the smaller baits, you'll be using a 1 ounce all the way up to a 2 ounce tungsten sinker, and a little small bait is about all you can get to bite. But when conditions are good, swimming the bigger jigs, flipping those bigger creature baits like Ish did last time we were here, and then even flipping a plastic with a punch skirt, which gives that bait more bulk, seems to get you a lot more bites. But man, a lot of these tournaments down here are won this time of year under normal conditions with the cold fronts coming in with just little bitty small plastic baits and big sinkers.
Mm-hmm.
Davey, what do you think's going through Brett Height's mind right now? Yesterday, he was one of the first guys with a limit. It only took him about an hour and a half, 2 hours to catch his limit, and that included some of his ones he weighed in, and to only have one fish, past the time that he already had his limit yesterday?
Well, that's a good question, Ronnie, and I'll give you my answer because I've been there. There's a few things going on in your mind here. Should I move? Should I change technique? Should I go to other areas? And I always ask myself, because even though 50th place is $10,000, and $10,000 is a lot of money to most guys, including myself, so that's on your mind a little bit. But I think the best thing for your career is to have wins, not make $10,000 checks. Now, how is making $10,000 not good for your career? It's good for your career. But I think the longevity of your career and for your sponsor, that sort of thing, when you've got an opportunity to win, when you're in the top 5 after day 1, when you've actually got a chance, because some tournaments, quite honestly, going in, you really don't have a chance, you just want to survive. Mm-hmm. But this is in Brett's wheelhouse. So what would be going on in my mind right now? How can I win? Do I drive to the other end of the lake and pick up a flipping stick? Is that the way? In my case, it would be Davey Height, but is that what Brett Height's thinking? Probably not. So unfortunately, you remain the captain of the ship, and you go down with it if it sinks, because you're trying to win the tournament. And I think that's just what you have to do. It's a decision you make. You could possibly go change and do some things a little differently to secure a $10,000 check, but I don't think that's what Brett Height's got going on in his mind right now. He's in his wheelhouse. He's going to pick that Cinco up some more. He's going to move around a little bit. He had a good practice. I talked to him because I knew he'd be a front runner coming in this tournament. He's going to stay on that end of the lake, and he's going to keep that vibrating jig and that Cinco in his hand, and he's going to live and die. It's been too good to him. He's won hundreds and hundreds of thousands of dollars.
That kind of sets you to thinking. You talk about your opportunities. Even if you're a top echelon guy, in a 25, 30-year career, you'll have maybe 35, 40 opportunities in that whole period of time when you're in that position, right?
Guy Eaker is a great example. He's a legend in the sport, one of the certainly gentlemen of this sport, done, all great things, won one event.
Yeah.
Great fishermen, legends, you just don't get 100 opportunities to win. I don't care who you are. Even Kevin Van Dam has a limited amount, and he's won more than anybody in our era, has a limited amount of tournaments where you legitimately have a chance to win.
Maybe 50 for him in his lifetime, and he's converted 20 times, and that's phenomenal.
Absolutely.
Absolutely phenomenal.
Davey, you know anything about water temps? Bill Durham's asking us if Horton's water further south could be cooler, or if it's cooler up north.
In most bodies of water, you'll have, your northern side more protected from the northern winds and all. What warms up first and that sort of thing. But Okeechobee being such a bowl, it seems to be pretty consistent that I've seen around the bowl, so to speak. But, like on my home lake, Lake Murray, the northeast corner of that body of water, that reservoir is narrow and long, and it's going to warm up sooner. But a little more so in a lake like Lake Murray, a man-made reservoir, than this big natural bowl that we're fishing here. But the south corner doesn't necessarily warm up quicker because it gets exposed from all those northern winds. The northern side, the north shore where these guys are the most protected and stays warmer because it's protected from those cold, harsh winds. When the north shore gets a wind, it's a southerly, warmer wind.
Makes sense? Somebody also asked what they're looking for out in the open water.
Well, these guys look like they're, Browning and Brett Height look like they're fishing open water, and certainly they're fishing more open water than Timmy, but there's hydrilla there. It looks open, but it's really not. And that's one thing I talked to Brett Height about. He uses a 360 imaging on his. It's an extra transducer on his Minn Kota, where not only does he have down imaging and side imaging, he can see all around. And when he's in this open water looking for these little subtle differences in grass, and instead of just with like a traditional down imaging or even side imaging, you're following the edge of grass, outside or inside edge. If he's fishing this open water grass, he'll find little points on an edge, or he'll find clumps of grass. Speaking of that, I talked to him last night. He said he had an awesome view on his Facebook page.
All right. Fish number 2. Nice.
All right. Sweet.
Only 2 fish, but look at the size.
That's why I wonder, when we're talking about 30-pound bags, he's flipping, covering a lot less water. But if he gets 5 bites, that's his only question maybe, is getting 5. But if he gets them, and he got a couple over 6 or 8,
And just pitching this clone cross him. I really like this copper flake. It's black with red and copper flake. Just a Bass Pro Shops tungsten weight. Bass Pro peg sinker. But anyway, clone cross him. It's about a 4-inch. Just really penetrates good, and it's got those little crawls that really jump and move. Oh, it felt good to get a bite. Man, it'd been a while. Yesterday they came in waves. You would go a while without a bite, and then boom, catch 2 or 3. Man, he smoked it too. I mean, like, most of it has just been like heavy pressure. And I felt that one as it was falling.
Timmy Horton was the first guy to 20 pounds yesterday, was he not? First guy with a big limit?
Yeah.
So a little behind schedule today, but size is there. The long road. This is only the second stop here. The Big O, Lake Okeechobee. It's a long road, which you're worried. Well, you say don't worry about it. You say the conventional wisdom is don't worry about it. But Davey Height says you need to worry about it from stop number 1. Toyota Bassmaster Angler of the Year. That's what we're talking about. The most consistent angler over the course of an entire season. And no surprise, Ott Defoe with his leading the tournament yesterday and a great showing not far from home at our first stop on Cherokee Lake. Paul Mueller, Northeast, Eastern Seaboard guy, jumping in there. David Mullins from Ott Defoe country right there. Randall Tharp. Many think this season is set up for him, at least until we get to the last 3 events. Hey, what's the shot of the day? What's the power pole replay of the day? Is it that right there, Mark Zona? Listen to this. You gotta listen. That is so intense. No, actually,
I'm gonna vote for
Richard Pryor's
Timmy
down
Horton's
there.
8-pounder.
That is going to be our power pole replay of the day. Of course, this giant bass. Timmy Horton getting pulled into a wrestling match here and coming out on top. Oh, that is so strong. Really no question at all. That's our power pole replay of the day. Timmy Horton fulfilling the promise that we made to you at the start of Bassmaster Live. We're going out looking for big ones today on the Big O. Going to see any more big ones like that today, David?
Oh, absolutely. I think the sun's coming out now. You'll see more this afternoon than you did this morning.
Sidney Horton, that big one. Jesse Takarani, the guy who struck big time today, a limit bumping up on 30 pounds to take the lead unofficially, according to Fast Track. Depot, a small limit, but still hanging in there, just a pound and a half or so behind Jesse Takarani. Stephen Browning holding his own, and Jason Williamson jumping up in there. Tim Horton with that big one gets back in the top 5. A lot more. We'll take a break. We'll be back in an hour and a half's time. We'll show you all.